boasting to everyone he encountered, as if he had just won a lottery worth 5 million. Old Wang, come take a look. See what this is. The latest model of an armed helicopter, crafted by Yi by himself, worth 300 million. Isn't that impressive? Old Liu, don't hide. Come and see. Look at this. An onboard electromagnetic cannon with an initial speed of 8 Mach. It can obliterate a destroyer in a single shot. Our Navy will soon have formidable forces. The entire naval base was abuzz with his triumphant demeanor, with everyone aware that Captain Zhang had struck gold during his observation test. However, just as Captain Zhang reveled in his triumph and began strategizing how to deploy the Phantom in the South China Sea, an urgent call from the Naval Command Center felt like a bucket of icy water, dousing his elation. The call was from the secretary of Admiral Lin Weiguo, whose tone was serious and brooked no argument. Comrade Zhang Jianjun, report to the command center immediately. The Admiral wishes to see you. Zhang Jianjun, or Captain Zhang, felt a sense of foreboding wash over him. Nonetheless, he did not dare to delay, promptly setting aside all other matters and hurrying to the Naval Command Center. Upon entering the office, he immediately sensed a suffocating tension in the atmosphere. The Admiral, over 60 yet radiating authority without raising his voice, stood with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing out at the distant harbor. Admiral, you called for me. Zhang Jianjun stood at attention, delivering a crisp salute. His voice steady, though anxiety churned within him. Lin Weiguo slowly turned to face him, his cold gaze making Zhang Jianjun uneasy. Zhang Jianjun, Lin Weiguo began, I ask you. This morning at 6 o'clock, the Philippine vessel once again infringed upon our waters. Are you aware of this? Report, Admiral. I am aware. Beads of sweat began to form on Zhang Jianjun's forehead. You're aware? Lin Weiguo scoffed, slamming his hand on the table, causing the teacup to jolt. How did I instruct you last time? He pointed a finger at Zhang Jianjun, his voice rising in reprimand. I commanded you to devise a strategy, employing all means necessary to ensure that those Philippine clowns do not dare to set foot in our territorial waters for at least 3 months. And this is how you fulfill your duty? Their boats are practically on our reef shores this morning. Where are you? Where is your fleet? Where is your plan? Chapter 347, Targeting All Illegal Intruding Vessels. Zhang Jianjun bore the brunt of the scolding, rendered speechless. He recognized the gravity of his oversight. Observing Zhang Jianjun's subdued demeanor, Lin Weiguo's fury began to subside slightly. He returned to the window, gazing at the restless sea, his voice heavy with fatigue. Our Navy has developed rapidly in recent years. However, the bigger we grow, the more attention we attract. Every action we take is scrutinized under a magnifying glass. Conventional methods of deterrence and warnings are utterly ineffective against those brash individuals. Yet, should we deploy our major vessels, even firing a single shot would be sensationalized by Western media, portraying us as bullies and military threats. Though our Navy is strong, we still fall short in a contest of strength against America. We are caught in a dilemma. Having said this, he turned once more, fixing a piercing gaze upon Zhang Jianjun. Thus, I tasked you with finding a solution. Devise a method that inflicts genuine pain upon them while leaving us with no incriminating evidence. Now, reveal to me, where's your plan? Zhang Jianjun buried his head lower, overwhelmed with shame. Those wretched Philippine monkeys buzzed incessantly at the southern gate of our homeland, like resilient flies, repeatedly challenging the patience and limits of a great nation. Yet, as the guardian of these waters, he found himself constrained, unable to present a decisive solution to silence them once and for all. This was a disgrace. In that moment, an unprecedented fury surged within Zhang Jianjun. Commander, I request to pledge a military oath. A military oath? Commander Lin Weiguo was momentarily taken aback by this sudden declaration. Indeed, Zhang Jianjun's gaze was unwavering. I, Zhang Jianjun, swear here and now that if I cannot ensure the Philippine Coast Guard does not dare to step foot on our islands in the South China Sea for the next 3 years, I am willing to resign my commission and return to farming. Boom. 3 years. Commander Lin Weiguo was utterly stunned by Zhang Jianjun's words. He even questioned whether his ears were malfunctioning. Looking at his subordinate, who seemed resolute and determined, he was almost amused by his audacity. Nonsense. This is sheer folly. Do you even realize what you are saying? Can a military oath be made so casually? 3 years. What do you have to guarantee that? Zhang Jianjun was an exemplary commander, courageous and responsible. Yet at this moment, to him, Zhang Jianjun's actions appeared reckless, a jest with his political future and military career. However, in the face of the commander's thunderous wrath, Zhang Jianjun remained unperturbed. Commander, the reason I dare to make this oath is that I possess the confidence. Confidence. Commander Lin Weiguo felt his blood pressure rising at Zhang Jianjun's self-assured demeanor. I must see what profound confidence you truly possess. He waved his hand forcefully. Fine. I approve. I will note your military oath. Go. Go and prove it. I want to see what method you employ to instill fear in those ruffians for 3 years. Yes. I assure you I will accomplish the task. Zhang Jianjun uttered no further words of frivolity, saluting Commander Lin Weiguo with a precise and vigorous military salute. His straightened spine resembled a spear poised to pierce the heavens. With that, he resolutely turned and strode out of the commander's office. Bang! The door to the office slammed shut. Commander Lin Weiguo paced back and forth, seething at the closed door, muttering incessantly. Stubborn mule. What a stubborn mule. Can I not even reprimand you? He could not fathom what had possessed Zhang Jianjun today. Although he was typically headstrong, he had never been this recklessly impulsive. Frustrated, he approached the door and beckoned the guard stationed outside. Xiao Wang, come here. Commander, how may I assist you? The young guard hurried over. Commander Lin Weiguo pointed in the direction Zhang Jianjun had departed, a look of confusion on his face. Tell me, what on earth is going on with Zhang Jianjun today? Has he taken the wrong medicine? Or has he ingested gunpowder? The guard, witnessing the commander's exasperated expression, hesitated before quietly reporting. Commander, I just heard from the base that Captain Zhang returned from observing a test in the Eastern Theater and seems to have brought back a new type of weapon. A new weapon? Commander Lin Weiguo raised an eyebrow. Yes. The guard nodded, his eyes reflecting curiosity and excitement. They say it is a formidable armed helicopter. A helicopter? Commander Lin Weiguo was even more puzzled. How powerful can a helicopter be? Even the most advanced WZ-10 would struggle against the robust hull of a ship. Is Zhang Jianjun's military oath, forbidding incursions for 3 years, truly reliant on merely a helicopter? What on earth is this lad up to? After pondering for a moment, Commander Lin Weiguo waved his hand dismissively. Prepare the vehicle. To the lookout tower at the port. He needed to see for himself what this confidence of Zhang Jianjun's truly entailed. Meanwhile, having left the command center, Zhang Jianjun wasted no time and drove directly to the dock of the Coast Guard unit. There, a vessel numbered 3303 was quietly moored. He ascended the gangplank with purpose and sought out the ship's captain. A robust, dark-skinned middle-aged man named Zhao Haipeng greeted him. Old Zhao. Without preamble, Zhang Jianjun commanded. Prepare to set sail immediately. Furthermore, remove that outdated helicopter from your ship and replace it with a new one. Replace it with a new one? Zhao Haipeng was taken aback. Captain Zhang, where would we obtain a new helicopter? Spare me the chatter. If I say replace it, then replace it. Zhang Jianjun waved his hand impatiently, a mysterious smile creeping onto his face. The new one I'm providing is a real behemoth. Soon, under the astonished gaze of Zhao Haipeng and the crew, the ghost-armed helicopter was meticulously hoisted onto the rear deck of Vessel 3303. Upon seeing the glimmering metallic sphere turret beneath the helicopter's belly and the 2 uniquely shaped cannons on either side of its wings, Zhao Haipeng trembled with excitement. This is a military-grade, armed helicopter. Moreover, it's a new model I have never encountered. Are we finally getting serious? Target. Zhang Jianjun's voice boomed like thunder. Yellow Island waters. Expel all illegally intruding Philippine vessels. Chapter 348. The ship exploded before the people even saw it? Yes. I assure you I will complete the mission. Zhao Haipeng stood tall, shouting with fervor. A pent-up rage finally found its outlet. Subsequently, the 3303 Coast Guard vessel sliced through the waves, racing forward at full speed. At that moment, in the waters near Yellow Island, a Philippine Coast Guard vessel, emblazoned with the words Philippine Coast Guard, had several sun-baked crew members lounging lazily against the ship's railing, smoking and whistling in a state of utter relaxation. Hey, Santos. I think the Dragon Kingdom folk are too scared to emerge today. A crew member named Ramos puffed out a smoke ring, grinning with pride. We can wrap up early and head back for our bounty. Captain Santos, flashing a grin revealing yellowed teeth, laughed heartily. Naturally, the dragon folks are nothing but soft persimmons. They only dare to spray us with water cannons, never taking real action. A few more times like this, and this sea will be ours to command. Exactly. Once we complete this mission, we'll pocket a few $100s in bounty. Tonight, we'll revel in Manila. The crew erupted in a conspiratorial, lewd laughter. However, as they indulged in fantasies of a delightful evening, an unusual, low rumbling engine sound approached from the sky. Huh, what is that sound? Ramos looked up in confusion. In the next instant, his pupils dilated. In the distant sky, a black, imposing monstrosity was rapidly approaching them. It was an armed helicopter, distinctly fearsome, the likes of which they had never seen before. Its entirely black paint exuded an air of lethal intent, especially that enormous spherical turret beneath its belly. resembling an ominous eye, is truly chilling. The Filipino crew was utterly petrified. They stared blankly at the approaching black helicopter, their minds blank. What is that? It is an armed helicopter. It bears weapons. Oh God, is it the Imperial Army? Has the Eagle's army arrived? Quick, contact headquarters. Captain Santos finally regained his senses from the shock, scrambling towards the cockpit. However, before he could grasp the intercom, the hovering Phantom attack helicopter above them commenced its display. A piercing sound, reminiscent of high-frequency energy coalescing, emanated from the spherical turret beneath the Phantom. Instantly, an invisible energy beam sliced through the air. Not far from the Filipino Coast Guard vessel, a coral reef protruding several meters above the sea surface was struck, as if by an invisible bomb. Boom! A resounding explosion. The hard reef seemed to be crushed by an unseen force. Countless fragments mixed with white coral dust shot skyward, forming a small, grayish-white mushroom cloud. Debris rained down like hail, striking the deck of the Filipino Coast Guard vessel with a cacophony of noise. All the Filipino crew were left bewildered. They stared at the reef, which had suddenly lost a significant portion of its mass, their minds in a state of confusion. What is happening? They saw no shells, no missiles, not even a flash of fire. How did the reef just explode on its own? What sorcery is this? Or is it divine retribution? Yet, before they could comprehend this supernatural spectacle, the two uniquely designed electromagnetic cannons beneath the Phantom's wings began their performance. Whoosh! A shrill sound, as if tearing through the air, resonated. A tungsten core armor-piercing round, traveling at a terrifying speed of Mach 8, grazed the side of the Filipino Coast Guard vessel, crashing violently into the sea. Boom! This time, the sound was 100 times more terrifying than the previous explosion. The kinetic energy of the projectile, upon entering the water, propelled the surrounding seawater up to over 30 feet high. A colossal, tsunami-like wall of white water surged towards the Filipino Coast Guard vessel. Splash! The icy seawater, mixed with tiny droplets accelerated by the projectile's kinetic energy, violently splattered against the hull of the Filipino Coast Guard vessel. Clang! A series of dense, metallic collisions rang out. The sturdy steel hull of the Filipino Coast Guard vessel bore numerous deep dents from the onslaught of the water spray. Some areas were even breached, leaving behind tiny holes. Devil! This is the weapon of a devil. Captain Santos, witnessing the battered hull, completely broke down. With a piercing scream, he scrambled to the helm, exerting all his strength to frantically turn the ship's wheel. Run! Quickly! Change course! Full speed ahead! The instinct for survival utterly overshadowed the temptation of a few $100s in bounty. The Filipino Coast Guard vessel, as if encountering a ghost, emitted a mournful wail, altered its course, and desperately fled toward its base. However, the Phantom helicopter followed like a patient hunter, leisurely trailing behind them. It did not directly attack the Coast Guard vessel, but continuously unleashed electromagnetic and laser cannons, creating a series of explosions and splashes to the left and right of their trajectory. Whoosh! An electromagnetic cannon erupted, sending a towering column of water skyward 100 meters off the left side of the vessel. Boom! A laser beam instantly vaporized a rock off the right side of the ship. The unfortunate Filipino Coast Guard vessel, amidst this relentless barrage of explosions and splashes, wildly maneuvered in an S-shaped pattern, attempting to evade the omnipresent threat of death, though no projectile was aimed directly at them. The mere shock waves from the explosions and the splashes, powerful as bullets, were enough to terrify them. Soon, the once relatively new Coast Guard vessel was battered beyond recognition. Its hull was riddled with dents and bullet holes, resembling a massive sieve floating on the sea, a pitiful sight. Meanwhile, dozens of nautical miles away at the Filipino naval base, the radar monitoring room was in utter chaos. Report: the 081 Coast Guard vessel has sent an emergency distress signal. They claim they are under attack by an unidentified armed helicopter. What is happening? What model of helicopter? Unknown. They say the helicopter employs an invisible weapon capable of instantly detonating reefs and seawater. Nonsense. What invisible weapon? Have them clarify. Report: the signal from Vessel 081 is rapidly moving. Continuous high-intensity energy explosion reactions detected in its vicinity. The base commander stared at the radar screen, where the point representing Vessel 081 flickered amidst a series of explosion signals like fireworks, utterly bewildered. What is going on? 081. 081. Respond if you hear me. What on earth are you encountering? The commander of the Filipino naval base shouted hoarsely into the intercom. Chapter 349. Did the electromagnetic cannon just target a helicopter? What came through the intercom was not a report, but a cacophony of jarring metallic collisions, interspersed with Captain Santos's incoherent screams filled with terror and despair. Devil! It's a devil attacking us. Oh God, save me. Before he could finish, a violent explosion completely drowned out his voice, leaving only a harsh static on the intercom. Communication was severed. The commander of the Filipino naval base stood frozen, gripping the intercom, his palms slick with cold sweat. He had no idea what the 081 vessel had encountered, but it must be some unimaginable and incomprehensible weapon of terror they had never before seen. This one-sided pursuit continued for dozens of nautical miles. The Phantom helicopter, like a shepherd, drove the now dilapidated vessel straight from the Dragon Kingdom's territorial waters to the doorstep of the Philippines. Only when radar indicated that the Coast Guard vessel had entirely entered Philippine territorial waters did the Phantom finally cease its cat-and-mouse chase. It then hovered quietly at the boundary between the two nations' waters. Everyone at the Filipino naval base breathed a sigh of relief. They thought this nightmare had finally come to an end. However, they were mistaken. The true enforcement was only just beginning. Suddenly, the Phantom helicopter pivoted its nose. Ignoring the fleeing Coast Guard vessel, it directed its gaze towards a jagged area of reefs composed of numerous large and small rocks near Philippine waters. Open fire. In the command room of the 3303 Coast Guard vessel, Zhang Jianjun ordered, staring at the screen displaying the reef area. Buzz. The high-energy pulse laser cannon beneath the belly of the Phantom ignited with a dazzling azure glow. A beam of energy, visibly thicker than before, swept forth. Wherever the beam passed, whether hard rocks or tumultuous seawater, it was instantly vaporized. Following that, the electromagnetic cannons on either side of the wings unleashed their fury. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. This time, it was not a single shot, but a barrage of fire. Boom, 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 boom. A series of earth-shattering, deafening explosions resonated across the sea. The once jagged and scattered reef area appeared to be subjected to a relentless saturation bombardment by countless heavy aerial bombs. In an instant, the ground trembled and the mountains crumbled. The immense explosions unleashed towering waves, causing the entire sea surface to boil and churn wildly, roaring with fury. When the dust finally settled, the sea lay tranquil, as if nothing had ever occurred. Yet, the numerous rocks that once dotted the area had utterly vanished, as though they had never existed. Such was the terrifying power. In the command center of the Philippine naval base, an eerie silence persisted for a full minute. Everyone seemed to be collectively petrified, as if under a spell. On the screen, the area previously marked as a hazardous navigation zone had transformed into an empty expanse of deep blue sea. A young radar operator pointed at the screen, stammering, "The rocks. They're gone." The commander remained silent, his complexion as pale as parchment. Beads of cold sweat trickled down his brow. To move mountains and fill seas. This was a power reserved for deities in their myths. Yet today, they had witnessed this miracle with their own eyes. This exceeded all their understanding of the term weapon. Quick, send all video, data, and radar signals, everything. The commander finally regained a shred of composure from his fear. Immediately, encrypt and send it to our esteemed leaders. Let them see what kind of monstrosity the Dragon Kingdom has devised. Such a creature, surpassing the existing technological framework, was far beyond the capabilities of the Philippines to confront. Thousands of kilometers away, in the largest naval base of the United States in the Western Pacific, at the Pacific Fleet Command's Intelligence Analysis Center, an officer responsible for monitoring dynamics in the Asia-Pacific region was languidly sipping coffee and perusing information compiled from various channels. He considered this day to be yet another mundane one. Merely an occasion for the Dragon Kingdom to launch a new vessel or conduct another exercise, events they had long since become accustomed to. However, at that moment, an encrypted intelligence report marked with the highest urgency from the Philippine military suddenly popped up. Oh, how have those monkeys been bullied by the Dragon Kingdom this time? The analyst scoffed, impatiently opening the document. Initially, he skimmed the contents with indifference, but soon his brow furrowed tightly. Unidentified armed helicopters with invisible weaponry instantly evaporate rocks. He glanced at the descriptions filled with fantastical elements, unable to suppress a derisive laugh. Have these monkeys been watching too much sci-fi? This reads like an alien invasion. He categorized the report as exaggerated and low-value intelligence, preparing to close it. Yet just as he was about to hit the close button, the attachment, a blurry video captured by Philippine Coast Guard ships at great risk, which still revealed the outline of a helicopter, along with a data packet documenting complete radar and energy responses, caught his attention. Compelled by an inexplicable force, he clicked on the video. The footage shook violently, filled with terrified screams and chaotic noise. But when the Black Phantom helicopter appeared on screen, even this seasoned American intelligence officer felt his pupils constrict. He had never seen a helicopter like this. Then, as he witnessed the rocks being detonated in an instant and the Coast Guard vessel being turned into Swiss cheese, the contempt vanished from his face entirely. He immediately opened the data packet. Upon seeing the clearly captured radar signal representing an 8 Mach hypersonic object and the response curve indicative of megawatt-level high-energy pulse energy release, his coffee cup slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor into a pile of fragments. Oh my God! He leapt from his seat, racing frantically to the office of the Central Commander. Colonel, we have a serious situation. What is it that has you so flustered? The Colonel asked, looking up with irritation. The Dragon Kingdom. They have mounted an electromagnetic cannon on a helicopter. What? The Colonel stood up abruptly, disbelief filling his eyes. Say that again. An electromagnetic cannon? Mounted on a helicopter? What kind of international joke is this? The Colonel hurried to the analyst's workstation. When he laid eyes on the astonishing video and the irrefutable data report, the color drained from his weathered face. As an experienced weaponry expert, he understood better than anyone what the terms 8 Mach and megawatt meant when combined. It signified that the Dragon Kingdom had successfully miniaturized the electromagnetic cannon technology, which the Americans were still struggling with in laboratories and required a full-fledged 10,000-ton destroyer to deploy, alongside the high-energy laser technology that demanded substantial energy support. Integrating it onto a mere helicopter platform. This was no mere technological breakthrough. It was a technological leap. A miracle. A dimensional strike capable of completely overturning all existing military theories. This is impossible, the Colonel muttered dazedly, repeatedly dragging the video progress bar, attempting to discern any effects or signs of fabrication from the jarring images. Yet with each replay, only the depths of his fear and despair deepened. The video was real. The data was real. That Black Phantom was a tangible entity. Colonel, the analyst beside him asked, his voice trembling, should this intelligence be reported immediately to the Pentagon? The Colonel jolted back to reality. Upload. It must be uploaded immediately. Activate the highest level red alert channel. Transmit all data and video intact to the Joint Chiefs of Staff at the Pentagon without delay. This matter far exceeds the capabilities of our Pacific Fleet. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, in the Pentagon, symbolizing the globe's most formidable military might, a heated meeting was underway concerning the new fiscal year's military budget. At that moment, a young aide clad in crisp military attire, looking anxious, entered the conference room holding a freshly printed document marked Top Secret, swiftly approaching President Chuan Zhengguo. Mr. President, I apologize for the interruption. The young aide lowered his voice, his expression grave as he reported. The Joint Chiefs of Staff just received an urgent intelligence report from the Pacific Fleet, and I believe you need to review it immediately. President Chuan Zhengguo was already troubled over how to reduce the budget for the Navy, those beasts that devour gold. Hearing this, he frowned with impatience and took the document. A glance at the title revealed, Emergency Report on the Dragon Kingdom's Display of New Era Armed Helicopters in the South China Sea. Another report on the Dragon Kingdom? Chuan Zhengguo scoffed, a hint of disdain crossing his face. He continued reading, and as he encountered the phrases airborne electromagnetic cannon, 8 Mach initial velocity, and instantaneously destroy the reef area, his disdain morphed into unabashed contempt. With a snap, he tossed the document onto the table. Subsequently, he sneered at the young aide. Smith, if I recall correctly, you are a distinguished graduate of West Point, are you not? Yes, Mr. President, Smith replied, somewhat perplexed. Excellent, Chuan Zhengguo nodded, then pointed at the document. You so-called military experts, in your desperate attempt to extract additional funding from Congress, have you completely lost your sense of shame? He waved the file in the air. An airborne electromagnetic cannon? What nonsense. I confess, I am not well versed in advanced military technology. I am merely a successful businessman. However, I possess common sense. The energy consumption required for an electromagnetic cannon is astronomical. Our most advanced destroyers have nearly sacrificed their entire power supply just to accommodate those 2 cannons that are still not fully operational. Even if the Dragon Kingdom's technology is more advanced than ours, can they truly fit a nuclear power station into a mere helicopter? As he spoke, Chuan Zhengguo grew increasingly agitated, even rising to tower over Smith. Listen, young man. Such absurd and intellectually insulting intelligence should never again waste my time. This is undoubtedly a ruse by those in the Navy, exaggerating threats from the Dragon Kingdom to protect their budget for the new aircraft carrier. Inform the Joint Chiefs of Staff that this matter is not worth their attention. With that, he casually tossed the highly classified report, which could have shaken the world. into the shredder beside his desk. Watching the report disintegrate into meaningless scraps of paper amidst the buzzing noise, the young aide opened his mouth, yet ultimately said nothing. Observing his president's confident demeanor of knowing everything, an icy chill coursed through him. At that moment, another slightly older aide approached Chuan Zhangwo with another document in hand. Mr. President, John said respectfully, slightly bowing. The demolition work for the reception area on the east side of the Chickenfoot building has been completed. This is the final approval document for the new construction, requiring your review and signature. Upon hearing the word reception area, Chuan Zhangwo's previously irritated expression, caused by military budget concerns, softened instantly, even revealing a hint of satisfaction. He took the document, flipped through it symbolically, and his gaze finally settled on the budget figure. $5 billion? He frowned, seemingly dissatisfied with that amount. He then looked up at John. John, do you know why I ordered the demolition of that old reception area? John hesitated for a moment, then replied with understanding. Because the style of that reception area no longer keeps pace with our great era. It is unworthy of the status and image of our great Eagle Sauce empire. Precisely. Chuan Zhangwo nodded in satisfaction. He then stood up, moving to the window of the conference room, arms wide open as if to embrace the entire world. The Black Palace is the heart of our Eagle Sauce empire. It is the center of power in the entire world. And that reception area is the face of our empire. Here, we receive leaders from all over the world, showcasing our strength and prosperity. Thus, this reception area must be the most luxurious, most grandiose structure that reflects the might of our empire. Every brick and every pane of glass must be of the highest quality. Every carpet and chandelier within must be unique works of art. He turned, grasped the golden pen from the desk, and directly crossed out the original $5 billion on the budget document, replacing it with a new figure in bold strokes. $5 billion. Chapter 351. The peacekeeping forces need this more than we do. He then handed the document back to John. Inform the Treasury and the Engineering Department that I am raising the budget to $5 billion. I have but one requirement. Spare no expense, use the finest materials, and hire the best designers to construct a reception area that will astonish the world. For this is for the face of our Eagle Sauce empire. Chief Aide John gazed at the figure that had more than doubled on the document, revealing no hint of surprise, but rather a knowing smile. This was the president he was familiar with. Compared to the intangible and elusive threat from the Dragon Kingdom, this tangible project, capable of reflecting personal taste and the empire's image, evidently piqued the president's interest far more. As you wish, Mr. President, John respectfully accepted the document. I will attend to it immediately. I am confident that before long, a brand new, historically significant grand reception area will be presented before you. Chuan Zhangwo nodded in satisfaction. Returning to his seat, he could almost envision himself standing in that resplendent, palace-like reception area, receiving the envious and awed gazes of world leaders. As for that absurd report regarding the airborne electromagnetic cannon, he had long since cast it aside, just as Chuan Zhangwo, for the sake of the empire's image, boldly approved a staggering budget of $5 billion within the Chickenfoot building, thousands of kilometers away on the Pacific West Coast. Navy Commander Lin Weiguo was staring blankly at the distant sea through a high-power military telescope. His mind was a void. His heart felt as though it were gripped by an invisible hand, making each beat a struggle. What had he just witnessed? A helicopter had, in mere seconds, erased a rocky area composed of countless hard reefs from the nautical charts. That divine-like strike had no flames, no smoke, only streaks of light moving with blinding speed. After a brief moment of chaos, the sea returned to its former tranquility, as if nothing had transpired. Yet the vanished reefs silently testified to him that everything had been real. Electromagnetic cannons, high-energy lasers, these ultimate weapons, which existed only in science fiction films and cutting-edge military laboratories, had indeed been integrated into a mere helicopter. This is no illusion. Lin Weiguo lowered the telescope, murmuring in disbelief. The face that typically remained as steady as a mountain, unfazed even by the gravest crises, now bore only profound shock. As a naval officer, he understood better than anyone what this meant. From this day forward, the rules of naval warfare would be irrevocably rewritten. In the past, helicopters played supportive roles in naval battles, primarily for anti-submarine operations, reconnaissance, and transport. Against the resilient destroyers and cruisers, they had little chance to counterattack and were merely sidelined. But now, with this Phantom, everything had changed. With an attack speed of Mach 8, it could deliver projectiles to the enemy before any active close-in weapon system could respond. It possessed the terrifying kinetic energy capable of penetrating a destroyer's hull. Furthermore, it was equipped with high-energy lasers, capable of precisely incinerating enemy radars, targeting systems, and missile guidance heads, instantly blinding and deafening the opposition. This was no longer just a helicopter. It was a flying, miniaturized arsenal ship capable of delivering devastating blows. Lin Weiguo watched the Black Phantom slowly returning, his voice trembling uncontrollably. Even in the coastal and open seas, this thing is absurdly powerful. He began to envision the terrifying scene that would unfold if these Phantom attack helicopters were extensively deployed within his naval carrier strike group. They would serve as the sharpest spear of the fleet, capable of launching lethal strikes against enemy fleets from beyond their defensive perimeter. Simultaneously, they would act as the most formidable shield, effortlessly intercepting any incoming subsonic anti-ship missiles. This would fundamentally alter the nature of future naval warfare. One could even assert that with the presence of these Phantoms, the dynamics of conflict between the Dragon Nation and the Eagle Nation would shift dramatically. From this moment on, the balance of offense and defense would be transformed. The paths of both sides would now be open for engagement. As Zhang Jianjun returned to base aboard the 3303 Coast Guard vessel, filled with vigor, he was met by Commander Lin Weiguo, who embraced him tightly and then patted his shoulder with vigor. "Well done. Truly outstanding." Zhang Jianjun stood tall and saluted, reporting, "Commander, the mission has been accomplished. With this Phantom at our disposal, I guarantee that not even in 30 years will those Filipino monkeys dare to set foot on our South China Sea islands." "Excellent. Very well said." Commander Lin nodded emphatically before shaking his head slightly. "Ah, youth, you are too eager. Unlike you, I remain clear-headed and cognizant of what is truly important. Jianjun, your perspective is still somewhat narrow. This formidable weapon, apart from deterring hostile elements during peacetime, has an even more significant purpose: our peacekeeping forces." Lin Weiguo's voice grew grave. "In recent years, our Blue Helmet heroes have faced numerous complex and dangerous situations while on overseas missions. They require stronger firepower support and more reliable security assurances. This Phantom is their best talisman." He looked at Zhang Jianjun and all the gathered generals, enunciating each word carefully. "We may not need it, but our peacekeeping forces must possess it. With it, we can stand tall in foreign lands and ensure that those malicious actors dare not harbor any ill intentions towards our peacekeeping personnel." "Zhang Jianjun, you have rendered an immense service to our Navy and to our Dragon Nation. The global situation is quite clear. The Eagle Nation is in decline, yet it manages to maintain the current international order. What the Dragon Nation requires most is time to stall and allow the Eagle Nation to slowly perish without destabilizing the global situation. Simultaneously, we must gradually consume and inherit the legacy of the Eagle Nation. Thus, while the Eagle Nation may perish, it must not be now. In the face of their desperate struggles, we must deter them without revealing too many of our cards, and the Phantom helicopters are the optimal choice." Chapter 352. The young soldiers yearn to achieve greatness. Once matters concluded, Zhang Jianjun promptly called Major Yi Bai. "Major Yi, good news. Tremendous news." Zhang Jianjun's voice quivered with excitement, and he recounted the recent events, his words somewhat tangled due to his exhilaration. After all, possessing such a formidable weapon ignites a warrior's ambition. While the Dragon Nation cherishes peace, young soldiers yearn for glory. Naturally, the generals in their prime also desire to be remembered in history. Faced with repeated provocations from the monkeys, they possess the capability to crush them with a mere finger, yet must restrain themselves for the greater good, which leaves everyone feeling quite frustrated. Listening to Zhang Jianjun's disjointed report, Yi Bai was taken aback. "What? You chased them for dozens of nautical miles?" Yi Bai's mind momentarily stalled. Although he anticipated action against the monkeys, he hadn't expected such a hardline approach. Initially, he thought it would simply involve a few warning shots. After all, in his experience, the Dragon Nation has always handled such issues with relatively gentle means like warnings, evictions, and water cannon sprays. When had they become so assertive? Has the country really changed so drastically? Yi Bai instinctively questioned. Zhang Jianjun nodded vigorously in affirmation. "Yes, Major Yi, you may not be aware, but the nation has long been biding its time, strategically positioning itself on a global scale. Now, the time has come to cast our net. To demonstrate our resolve and strength to the world, we must take decisive action. Your Phantom helicopters are the sharpest weapon to fire the first shot." Hearing this, Yi Bai's heart surged with excitement. So that's the reason. No wonder the military is so willing to support our research and development, and why they dare to deploy such a cutting-edge weapon directly into combat. This signifies a shift in the entire national strategy. However, before he could recover from this grand strategic revelation, Zhang Jianjun's next words made his heart skip a beat. Moreover, Major Yi, there is more good news. After deliberation by the higher-ups, your Phantom electromagnetic cannon helicopter will undergo small-scale mass production upon completion of this mission, with priority given to equipping our overseas peacekeeping forces. Peacekeeping forces. Yi Bai was utterly elated. In his mind, a vivid image formed. On the vast expanse of the Philippines or amidst the war-torn regions of the Middle East, when local warlords brandish outdated RPGs and drive dilapidated pickups, a black Phantom helicopter would silently descend from above like a divine being. Then, a laser would sweep across, causing the RPG warheads to detonate in place. A single electromagnetic cannon shot would create a dust storm and shockwave, hurling both men and pickups skyward. Was there even a need to engage in battle? Simply the fear instilled by this unknown technology could terrify them to death. This was truly a dimensional strike. By the way, General Zhang, Yi Bai suddenly recalled a crucial issue. That scene at sea. It wasn't live-streamed, was it? Of course not. Zhang Jianjun quickly replied. This is a military operation. Confidentiality protocols take precedence. Yi Bai nodded in understanding, but then shifted his tone. While I comprehend the need for confidentiality in the maritime operation, when the Phantom is deployed with the peacekeeping forces, can we live-stream that? And it must prominently feature my name, showcasing our black technology factory's production. What? Zhang Jianjun was momentarily stunned, his expression one of disbelief. Live-streaming? Promoting under the name of a private factory? That contradicted military nature and confidentiality regulations. Throughout history, military weaponry has always been a matter of national importance, shrouded in secrecy. Why would one publicly showcase it? Major Yi, this may not adhere to protocol. Zhang Jianjun expressed his concern. I must consult with the leadership. Go ahead, Yi Bai replied nonchalantly. Zhang Jianjun, not daring to delay, promptly contacted Commander Lin Weiguo and relayed Yi Bai's audacious request verbatim. The line fell into a brief silence, and Zhang Jianjun's heart raced. Yet, just seconds later, Commander Lin Weiguo's voice came through clearly. Approved. After hanging up, Yi Bai returned to his dormitory at Qingbei University, having been away for quite some time. It was late at night when he pushed open the door, yet the dormitory was still ablaze with lights. None of the three roommates were asleep. They were all gathered around a laptop, animatedly discussing something. Their voices were loud enough to be heard in the corridor. No way. Is this for real? Chen Hong exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief. This video claims that our Dragon country's helicopters are pursuing and attacking the Filipino Coast Guard vessels, even blowing up the rocks at their doorstep. This is so satisfying. It was about time we did something like this. Those monkeys have been jumping around at our doorstep every day. They deserve to see what we're capable of. Wang Zi, however, maintained a calm demeanor, not swayed by the online frenzy. The authenticity of the video remains to be verified. After all, the visuals are quite blurry, and there hasn't been any official statement. Yet, logically speaking, our recent actions in the Eastern Sea have indeed grown increasingly assertive, and the emergence of new weaponry isn't out of the question. I checked the foreign forums, and the Filipino military forums are in uproar, discussing an encounter with a ghost that closely resembles the content of the video. It seems highly plausible. Compared to the two, Zhao Lan was quicker to obtain first-hand information. Ghost? What a cool name. Chen Hong exclaimed, slapping her thigh in excitement. I told you. Our country is definitely becoming formidable. We are no longer in an era of hiding our strength. Just as they were fervently discussing, a breaking news alert suddenly captured everyone's attention. It was a press release from the Dragon country's state media regarding peacekeeping forces. The headline made the entire dormitory erupt with excitement. Dragon country's peacekeeping forces to equip the latest electromagnetic cannon-armed helicopter, codenamed Sky Reaper, set to live-stream operations in the Philippines. Chapter 353. Why are these warlords so affable? Boom. This news hit like a bombshell, igniting a frenzy within the dormitory and across the internet. Electromagnetic cannon helicopters? No way. Am I seeing this correctly? An electromagnetic cannon mounted on a helicopter? Codenamed Sky Reaper? This is just too cool. Chen Hong was so ecstatic that she jumped out of her chair, babbling incoherently. Wang Zi and Zhao Lan were equally stunned. Their eyes glued to the screen, their minds blank. If the earlier discussion about the ghost was merely gossip, now the official announcement had solidified this sci-fi-like scenario. The internet was already a boiling sea of excitement. The official announcement is deadly serious. If they say it exists, it truly does. Sky Reaper. Just the name alone indicates how terrifying this thing is. Peacekeeping. This is clearly a law enforcement operation. Peacekeeping means taking down everyone until the world is peaceful. Live streaming. My goodness. Is our country really going all out this time? This is a show of strength to the world. Hurry. Where's the live stream? Send me the link. I want to see the gods fighting. In the dormitory, Chen Hong was frantically searching for the live stream link while shouting in excitement. Quick, quick, quick. The live stream is about to start. No one is allowed to sleep today. Whoever sleeps will have to deal with me. Just then, Yi Bai walked in. Brother Yi, you came at the perfect time. Chen Hong exclaimed, seeing him as a savior, pulling him over. Come and see. Our country has developed an electromagnetic cannon helicopter. It's about to live stream law enforcement in the Philippines. Ye God, you work in this field. Come analyze this for us. Just how impressive is this thing? Yi Bai looked at his roommates, their faces flushed with excitement, and simply smiled as he sat down in front of the computer. He said nothing, instead immersing himself in his thoughts, observing the system panel displaying the surging shock value. Indeed, with the official announcement and the live stream build-up, global attention caused the shock value to soar. Shock value, 10. Shock value, 15. The numbers skyrocketed as if propelled by a rocket. Soon, Chen Hong found the entrance to the official live stream. The moment the screen switched to the live feed, the noise in the dormitory ceased instantly, and everyone held their breath. The live stream showed a convoy of Dragon Country's armored vehicles and infantry combat vehicles, adorned in UN white, traversing a bumpy dirt road in the Philippines. At the convoy's center, a bright red flag fluttered in the wind, standing out against the gray and yellow backdrop. Hello, everyone. We are currently following the 7th batch of Dragon Country's Peacekeeping Combat Battalion, the Legion Company, announced a voice from a military journalist off-screen. I am Special Correspondent Wang Bing. Today, we will accompany the Legion Company to experience their daily patrol duties. The camera shifted to the convoy's interior, where a dark-skinned, resolute-looking captain was calmly issuing orders through the vehicle's radio. His name was Li Mo, the commander of the Legion Company. Attention all units. We are about to enter Zone 2, which is a combat area between the Shaskar Armed Group and the Holy War Brigade. Everyone remain alert and maintain the highest level of vigilance. Came the synchronized response from the radio. The reporter, Wang Bing, turned the camera towards Li Mo, asking, Captain Li, could you introduce your daily work to us? Li Mo nodded, his gaze still vigilantly observing the rapidly passing scenery outside. Our primary task is to safeguard our Dragon Country's national interests overseas. He pointed towards a distant skyline where a cluster of modern buildings was taking shape. What you see there is a large hydroelectric power station project funded by our Dragon Country Electric Construction Group, along with a supporting living area for employees. The total investment exceeds $3 billion and serves as a crucial pivot for our country's Belt and Road Initiative in the Philippines. Once completed, it will resolve the electricity issues for nearly 1/3 of the population. However, it has also become a coveted target for various factions. The viewers in the live stream, along with Yi Bai's roommates, finally understood that the peacekeeping forces were not just maintaining peace. More importantly, they were protecting the country's substantial investments and the safety of personnel abroad. Of course, Li Mo continued, as a UN-authorized peacekeeping force, we also bear a humanitarian mission. Protecting innocent civilians and stopping armed conflicts is part of our responsibilities. For instance, in the area we are currently in, there are over 10 different warlord factions. They engage in constant battles over territory and resources, leading to dire humanitarian conditions. Our mission is to deter and mediate conflicts based on national interests, without violating the rules of engagement. Mediation? Chen Hong watched the live stream, scratching her head in confusion. Mediating with a bunch of ruthless warlords? How is that even effective? Won't they just shoot at you? Her words echoed the sentiments of all the viewers in the live chat. However, what happened next completely overturned their perception. Not far ahead on the roadside, a makeshift checkpoint constructed from sandbags and old vehicles appeared. A dozen armed militants, brandishing rifles and exuding a fierce demeanor, lounged against the barricade. When they saw the Dragon Country peacekeeping convoy approaching, rather than displaying any hostility, they all stood to attention. The leading thug even broke into a wide grin, proactively moving the roadblock aside and respectfully gesturing towards the convoy. The stark contrast between his servile demeanor and his previously fierce appearance was striking. The convoy from the Dragon Country showed no signs of slowing down as it whizzed past them. The entire process unfolded with astonishing smoothness. In the dormitory, Chen Hong's mouth hung agape in disbelief. What just happened? Why didn't they stop the cars? Why didn't they attempt extortion? These warlords, don't they dare to seize even the UN aid convoys? Why do they act like mice scurrying from a cat upon seeing our vehicle? Wang Zi analyzed gravely. Clearly, they are afraid. But the question remains, why? Our peacekeeping forces do not hold an absolute advantage in weaponry compared to those Western nations. What instills such trepidation in them? This question also perplexed the millions of viewers in the livestream. The journey ahead only deepened their confusion. The convoy continued forward, encountering several checkpoints belonging to different warlord factions. Yet, without exception, all armed individuals displayed remarkable uniformity upon seeing the fluttering 5-star red flag and UN insignia. They greeted them with courtesy and smiles, willingly yielding the way. One warlord even prepared local fruits to offer to the convoy, only to be sternly declined by Liemo. The comments section of the livestream erupted in a frenzy. This makes no sense. It's too strange. These warlords seem like entirely different people. I've watched documentaries about the Eagle Nation's peacekeeping forces. Every patrol feels like a battle, with IEDs lining the roads and gunfire erupting at any moment. Why does the atmosphere shift so drastically when it comes to us? It's astonishing. Why do they not dare to confront us? Could it be that we, the Dragon Country people, possess a more amiable appearance? Don't be ridiculous. In these regions, the more amiable you are, the quicker you meet your demise. They are certainly not afraid of our faces, but of what lies behind us. In the dormitory, Chun Hong gazed at the unobstructed path ahead, filled with emotions. Incredible. Is this the deterrent power of our Dragon Country? Merely displaying our national flag can compel these desperate individuals to yield? Why do they not dare to act? They are not incapable. The real question is, why do they abstain from action? Yi Bai, observing the bewilderment on his roommates' faces, offered a calm explanation. The reason is straightforward. Firstly, we genuinely come in peace. Not to sow discord. We repair roads, construct power stations, and open hospitals, sincerely aiding their development. The local civilians support us, if they dare to harm us. It equates to opposing the populace. Secondly, and most crucially, Yi Bai said, a playful smile gracing his lips, they know that if provoked, we are indeed capable of retaliating fiercely. Let us not forget. Our nation established its presence on the international stage by driving back the so-called world's foremost Eagle Nation and its coalition of allies from the banks of the Yalu River. If we could subdue the Eagle Nation, what are these bandits, who don't even have a unified military uniform? His words ignited a fire within Chun Hong and the others. Yes, how could they forget that their homeland wrested peace and dignity from the blood-soaked battlefields? This deeply ingrained, invincible spirit is something that no minor villain can shake. Just as enthusiasm swept over them, an unexpected turn of events unfolded in the live stream. Rat-a-tat-tat. Boom. A barrage of gunfire, reminiscent of popping beans, mixed with the dull thud of mortar explosions, erupted from a distance without warning. The once calm prairie was suddenly shrouded in smoke and flames. In the dormitory, Chun Hong and the others tensed up, their hearts racing. Oh no, it's happening. Are we truly witnessing war? Listening to this gunfire feels akin to celebrating the new year with firecrackers, Chun Hong instinctively remarked, only to quickly reconsider the inappropriateness of his comparison. However, to their surprise, the peacekeeping convoy remained unflustered. Company Commander Liemo didn't even furrow his brow. He merely picked up the radio and spoke in a casual tone. Attention all units, 2 kilometers ahead, the Sand Scorpions and the Holy War Brigade are at it again. Drones, proceed for reconnaissance, maintain a safe distance, and navigate around. Wang Bing, the accompanying journalist, was evidently experiencing such a scene for the first time. His face paled as he nervously inquired, Commander Li, shouldn't we intervene? With such concentrated gunfire, there will surely be innocent casualties. Liemo, upon hearing this, wore a wry smile tinged with resignation. Intervene? How do we intervene? What you see here is far too normal. These warlords, like hyenas on the prairie, feel restless if they don't engage in battle every couple of weeks over territory or resources. Our role is to ensure that their conflict does not encroach upon the area we are tasked with protecting. He gestured towards the brightly lit construction site of the Dragon Country Electric Project. See, while they may be engaged in a fierce battle, not a single shell dares to fly in that direction, for they know it is a red line, a forbidden zone. Whoever crosses that line shall face dire consequences. His words, calm yet imbued with tremendous strength and confidence, left the livestream audience deeply shaken once more. Is this the daily life of the Dragon Country peacekeeping forces? Navigating through a hail of bullets, as if strolling in their own backyard? So real, yet so brutal. It turns out, peace is indeed such a luxury. Hearing the phrase "whoever dares to cross that line shall die" brought tears to my eyes. This is the most hardcore sense of security our nation provides to our compatriots overseas. In the dormitory, Chun Hong and the others were equally moved. For the first time, they felt viscerally that on the other side of the world, their fellow citizens were expanding the nation's interests in such a complex and perilous environment. And safeguarding all of this were these most beloved and honorable Dragon Country soldiers. Just as Li Mo finished speaking, an observing team member suddenly pointed towards the distant construction site, exclaiming, "Commander, look!" Everyone followed the direction of his finger, their pupils dilating in shock. There, on the once brightly lit construction site of the Dragon Country Electric Project, a massive fireball shot into the sky. Following that, a deep explosion reverberated from afar. Rolling towards them. Boom. A shell. A shell had struck the construction site. A significant part of the facility was visibly upturned. Steel structures twisted and collapsed in the explosion, instantly transforming into a wasteland. How dare they? Chun Hong leaped up from his chair, eyes wide in disbelief as he stared at the screen. The comments section of the live stream exploded with outrage. Have they lost their minds? They truly dare to attack our people. These beasts. They've crossed the line. They've gone too far. This is intolerable. Absolutely intolerable. If we let this slide, where do we place the pride of the Dragon Country? Within the convoy, Company Commander Li Mo's expression darkened to a point where it seemed he could squeeze water from it. All units, attention. Immediately change course. Full speed ahead to the construction site. Li Mo nearly roared into the radio. Medical team, prepare yourselves. Hurry. Check for any casualties. The convoy swiftly altered its course. Engines roaring as they sped towards the site ravaged by artillery fire. At that moment, every viewer's heart clenched tightly. The situation abroad is truly chaotic. In an instant, tranquility transformed into chaos. As the convoy surged into the construction site, the scene that unfolded before everyone elicited gasps of shock. Fortunately, thanks to an early warning, the workers had already taken refuge in the sturdy air raid shelters, thus avoiding any casualties. However, the entire factory area lay in ruins, with several newly constructed buildings reduced to mere twisted steel skeletons. The heart-wrenching sight of numerous precision production devices, worth tens of millions and transported from afar, utterly destroyed amidst the chaos, turned into heaps of burning scrap metal. This was no accidental bombardment. It was a blatant act of deliberate destruction, aimed at preventing them from carrying out this project smoothly. Witnessing the devastation and listening to the project manager's anguished report of losses, Commander Li Mo clenched his fists, the sound echoing ominously. The flames of fury within him blazed fiercely. This is intolerable. Li Mo spat through clenched teeth, immediately seizing the communicator to report to the higher command. Reporting to the command center. This is the Sword of Justice Company. The Dragon Nation Electric Construction Project site we are tasked with protecting has come under fire from unidentified armed forces. Repeat, it is a deliberate artillery attack. The site has suffered severe damage, and the equipment losses are catastrophic. No casualties reported. Requesting instructions. A heavy silence lingered on the other end of the communicator for several long minutes. Yet for the outraged viewers in the live stream, those minutes stretched into what felt like centuries as they awaited a response, a stance. Finally, the voice from the command center returned. Sword of Justice Company. The command center orders. You are authorized to retaliate against the armed assailants with force. Open fire for retribution. Engage in violent peacekeeping. Repeat. Engage in violent peacekeeping. As the command for violent peacekeeping resonated powerfully from the communicator, the entire live stream erupted with fervor. The pent-up rage found its outlet at that moment. Strike. Hit them hard. Violent peacekeeping. Indeed, we cannot reason with these beasts. A single punch now saves 100 later. We must instill fear in them today. Make them tremble at the mere mention of the Dragon Nation. At long last, we have reached this moment. Let our might be known. Right now, in the dormitory, Chun Hong was so exhilarated that he slammed his fist on the table. Damn it. This is how it should be. Annihilate these bastards. With the authorization from higher-ups, the anger in Li Mo's eyes swiftly transformed into a cold, lethal intent. Turning around, he issued the long-awaited command through the communicator, calling the Sky Reaper. Target area locked. Permission to fire. Repeat. Permission to fire. Erase those scoundrels from this land. As Li Mo's command echoed, the Sky Reaper, hovering high above, began its descent. It did not attack immediately, but instead utilized its powerful loudspeakers to deliver a final ultimatum in clear, standard English to the chaotic battlefield below. Attention, all units on the ground. You have attacked a Chinese industrial zone. This act is considered a violation of China's overseas rights and interests. Surrender immediately, or you will face devastating strikes. Repeat, surrender immediately, or a devastating counterattack will commence. This proclamation, akin to a divine decree from the heavens, resonated clearly in the ears of every armed combatant. The warring factions of the Scorpion and the Holy War Brigade, engaged in fierce combat below, trembled at the familiar warning. Especially when they looked up to see the overwhelming black figure in the sky, many faces reflected deep apprehension. It was the Dragon Nation, the commander of the Scorpion organization. A middle-aged man resembling a one-eyed dragon, paled at the sight of the Sky Reaper. Ceasefire. Everyone, stop firing immediately. The one-eyed dragon roared into the intercom without a moment's hesitation. He understood better than anyone that the Dragon Nation was not to be trifled with. They might not act recklessly like the Americans to topple a regime for oil, but anyone who dared to threaten their overseas assets and compatriots would undoubtedly provoke the most brutal and bloody retribution. On the other side, the leader of the Holy War Brigade, a bearded man wrapped in a turban, was equally shaken by the sight above. Though fervent, he was not foolish and promptly issued a ceasefire order, shouting into the intercom, "We did not attack the Dragon Nation's factory. It was that bunch of Scorpion bastards. It has nothing to do with us." However, just as both sides began to reconsider and prepare to stand down, an inexplicable scene unfolded. A hidden mortar behind the Holy War Brigade's lines continued to fire relentlessly, seemingly oblivious to the ceasefire order. Boom, boom. Several shells, with a sharp whistle, arced over the battlefield and landed perilously close to the one-eyed dragon. The massive shockwave from the explosion sent him and several of his guards tumbling to the ground. Damn it! The one-eyed dragon, rising from the dust and wiping blood from his face, was utterly enraged. Seizing a nearby subordinate's communicator, he bellowed, "Bearded bastard. You deceitful scoundrel. You're playing dirty. Open fire. Hit those Holy War Brigade bastards hard. Send them to meet their maker." The battlefield, which had started to calm, erupted once more due to the sudden barrage of shells. The armed forces of the Scorpion believed their leader had been betrayed, their eyes turning red with fury as they unleashed even greater firepower upon the Holy War Brigade's positions. Meanwhile, the Holy War Brigade was left bewildered. The bearded leader stared at the mortar position behind his lines, still firing incessantly, utterly confused. "What is happening? Didn't I order you to cease fire? Who is still firing?" His furious shouts into the communicator went unanswered as the mortars continued their relentless assault, disregarding the order and firing upon the opposing positions. The unexpected turn of events plunged both sides, once poised to retreat, back into a frenzied and unrelenting conflict. Gunfire and explosions erupted with unparalleled intensity. The entire battlefield spiraled into chaos. Chapter 356. The Sky Reaper wields its scythe. Observing the complete breakdown of order below, the Sky Reaper hovered high above. Command Center. The target refuses to surrender and continues to engage in combat, requesting to execute the next course of action. Approved. Lemo's voice was resolute, devoid of any emotion. Receiving the final attack order, the Sky Reaper hesitated no longer. Like a deity, incensed by the folly of mortals, it prepared to unleash its wrath. Buzz. Beneath its wings, the two electromagnetic cannons began to glow with a ghostly blue arc. Terrifying energy surged within the barrels, accumulating exponentially. Target, periphery of the combat zone, coordinates 035, 117. Electromagnetic cannon, single shot, 50% power, fire. The driver calmly selected an uninhabited hillock several kilometers away from the battlefield as the first target for deterrence. In the next moment, a piercing shriek, sharp enough to shatter eardrums, resonated through the skies. A tungsten core armor-piercing round, nearly imperceptible to the naked eye, was expelled at a terrifying speed of Mach 8. There was no flash of fire, no smoke. Millions of viewers in the live broadcast, along with 3 roommates in Yi-Bai's dormitory, widened their eyes, transfixed by the screen, forgetting to breathe. They could barely discern the trajectory of the shell. They only witnessed that distant hillock, as if struck by an invisible giant hand, shudder violently. Boom! A sound more profound and shocking than any prior artillery fire echoed ominously. The hill, composed of solid rock and towering several dozen meters high, began to crumble before all eyes, disintegrating like a sand sculpture instantaneously weathered by the elements. Countless fragments and dust were propelled hundreds of meters into the sky by an unimaginable force, forming a colossal, grayish-yellow mushroom cloud. As the dust gradually settled, the hill had completely vanished from the horizon, leaving behind a bottomless crater with edges as smooth as a mirror. Silence. The entire world seemed to plunge into a profound stillness at that moment. Whether it was the two warring factions engaged in a fierce exchange of fire or the global audience witnessing it through the live stream, all minds descended into a void. What did they just witness? A single shot, and a hill was gone. Chun Hong's lips trembled as he managed to utter a few words through clenched teeth. Wang Zi murmured with a dry throat, grappling with the sheer kinetic energy and destructive power that transcended conventional weaponry. Zhao Lan's expression was one of utter shock. Meanwhile, the armed factions on the battlefield were struck by an unparalleled impact. They stood frozen, gazing at the hill that had vanished in an instant, feeling the violent tremors beneath their feet as a primal fear surged from the depths of their souls, seizing their entire being. What in the world was that? One shot, and a small mountain was obliterated. If that were to strike them, no, there would be no remains. 100% scattered beyond recognition. Not even piecing them together would be possible. A devil. This was the weapon of a devil. Just as everyone was paralyzed with terror from this miraculous strike, the Sky Reaper in the heavens stirred. Instead of launching a second round, it glided directly toward the smoldering battlefield below. Retreat. Everyone retreat. Run. The one-eyed commander of the Sand Scorpion organization was the first to snap back to reality from his fear, tumbling out from behind cover. He roared at his dazed subordinates with all his might. Meanwhile, the bearded leader of the Holy War Brigade was so frightened that he knelt on the ground, repeatedly bowing toward the sky, murmuring prayers. "Oh Almighty, we were wrong. We will never dare again." Then, he too regained his wits and screamed frantically into the radio. "Withdraw. Quickly withdraw. Get away from here. Stay far from that devil." The command spread through various noisy channels to every armed member. However, these so-called soldiers were merely a haphazard bunch, having just laid down their hose to grab an A and rush to the battlefield. There was no discipline, no belief, and certainly no courage to face such overwhelming power. When death arrived in such a visceral manner, their already fragile fighting spirit crumbled instantaneously. Run. It was unclear who was the first to drop their weapon, letting out a heart-wrenching scream, turning to flee. This action was like toppling the first domino. Panic erupted entirely. The soldiers scattered like frightened birds and beasts. They shoved and trampled each other, desperate to outrun their comrades. The pickup trucks, which had been firing wildly just moments ago, abruptly swerved and sped away, even knocking over their own. The mortar crews, who had been launching shells, abandoned their artillery, scrambling out of cover and fleeing for their lives. The battlefield descended into chaos, filled with wails. In the live stream, countless viewers stared in disbelief at the scene. What did they just witness? A helicopter fired a single shot at an inconsequential hill, and it caused two armed forces, totaling over 1,000 men and well-equipped, to collapse and scatter in an instant. What terrifying deterrent power this is. In the dormitory, Chun Hong's mouth fell agape. Is this it? To conquer without battle is the highest realm of weapon deterrence. By demonstrating absolute, insurmountable power, the enemy's will to resist is utterly shattered psychologically. So formidable, Zhao Lan could only utter two words, impressed. Yet Yi Bai remained unfazed within. Knowing this was the desired effect, everything unfolded as anticipated. What was there to be surprised about? Watching the shock value soar on the system panel, he felt elated. This was the crux of it. This shot obliterated a mountain. The influence of the official live broadcast far surpassed his expectations. He wondered how many were watching behind the scenes. This was a windfall. This was the might of the electromagnetic cannon. Truly absurd. Grateful that technology is in the hands of civilization. Grateful for technology. In the live stream, a comment pinned at the top echoed the sentiments of everyone. Chapter 357. Major automotive companies targeted? Have they been intimidated? As the Sky Reaper effortlessly quelled the armed conflict with an almost overwhelming presence. The relevant battle reports and video footage were promptly transmitted back home through secure channels. Though Yi Bai had witnessed the scene through the live broadcast, he was profoundly shaken upon receiving the more detailed tactical assessment report compiled by the military. The report contained not only the earth-shattering single shot, but also the various data analyses captured by high-precision sensors regarding the tungsten core round's impact on its target. Target: degrade hardness Rocky Hill, elevation 78 meters. Instantaneous kinetic energy upon impact, 42 by 10.9 joules. The impact generated high temperatures, causing structural melting of the rock and triggering a chain collapse. Assessment: a 50-power electromagnetic cannon shot possesses destructive capabilities comparable to a 2,000-pound aerial penetrating bomb, with superior penetration and accuracy. Staring at these cold and precise figures, even Yi Bai, the creator, could not help but gasp in astonishment. The power was indeed astonishing. He knew the electromagnetic cannon was formidable, but its potency exceeded his expectations. This was merely at 50 power. If set to 100 full power, could one shot truly erase a small city from the map? This was no longer conventional weaponry. It was evidently a strategic weapon that could be deployed at will. Subsequently, he clicked on another video segment attached to the report. It was first-person footage captured by the Sky Reaper's onboard camera. In the footage, those once arrogant armed individuals, faced with absolute power, abandoned all dignity and weapons, scattering in panic like rabbits pursued by a falcon. They bore expressions of pure, primal fear emanating from the depths of their souls. As he gazed at the scenes unfolding before him, a complex array of emotions surfaced on Yi Bai's face. Indeed, he turned off the video, leaned back in his chair, and exhaled deeply. Weapons are meant to be wielded on the true battlefield. That is where their essence lies. While Yi Bai contemplated the rampage of the Sky Reaper in the Philippines, another strategic front he had orchestrated finally bore fruit. With the unwavering support and initiative of the Jinghai district government, the first batch of 100 Tianshu charging stations had been fully installed and commissioned, officially coming into operation. In a flash, electric vehicle owners throughout Jinghai district found themselves swept up in jubilation. Seated in the central control room of his black technology factory, Yi Bai observed the vast screen displaying real-time data for each charging station. The map was dotted with green lights representing the charging stations, frequently illuminating and extinguishing. This indicated that numerous vehicle owners were inserting their charging guns into their beloved cars. However, a peculiar scene unfolded. The back-end data revealed that the charging stations had been activated thousands of times, yet the actual instances of charging behavior were scant. The majority of vehicle owners withdrew their charging guns mere seconds after plugging them in. What could be amiss? Yi Bai furrowed his brow, a sense of foreboding rising within him. At that moment, Zhang Hongying, who was responsible for monitoring public sentiment online, rushed in with a tablet in hand, her face marked by urgency and concern. "Brother, this is bad. Something has happened." She handed the tablet to Yi Bai, the screen displaying screenshots from various automotive forums and social media. Jinghai District Tianshu charging stations tested. Major failure. They can't charge at all. Loud thunder. But little rain? Yishin's black technology, doesn't he seem that impressive after all? My damn ESU7. After plugging in, the vehicle system directly indicated an unrecognized charging device, then disconnected automatically. My Tajila is the same. It prompts that the charging protocol is incompatible. A flurry of posts brimming with skepticism and disappointment ignited across the internet. Zhang Hongying pointed at the feedback, speaking rapidly. "Brother, I checked the back-end user feedback. Most mainstream electric vehicle brands, like Dami, Tajila, and others, are unable to recognize our charging stations due to their vehicle systems. Therefore, they cannot charge at all. Only our modified Dujiao Fishhead and some old model electric vehicles without smart systems, or extremely low-end models, can function normally." Upon hearing this, Yi Bai's expression darkened immediately. He understood instantly. This was not a technical issue. It was a blatant commercial ambush. Humph. Yi Bai let out a cold snort, a glint of icy resolve flashing in his eyes. It was undoubtedly the major manufacturers pulling strings behind the scenes. He quickly grasped the underlying intricacies. The Tianshu charging stations were so revolutionary that once fully deployed, they would have the power to choke the lifeblood of all new energy vehicle enterprises. How could these industry giants, accustomed to wielding control, willingly relinquish their dominance to an outsider? Unable to outmaneuver Tianshu technologically, they resorted to the most despicable and rudimentary tactics, altering their vehicle system's foundational code to create barriers, preventing their users from utilizing Yi Bai's charging stations. They aimed to coerce Yi Bai into submission, compelling him to open up his technology or accept their terms for collaboration. What shall we do now? Zhang Hongying looked at Yi Bai's grim visage, anxiety filling her heart. Although she lacked commercial acumen, she understood the implications of being boycotted by nearly all mainstream vehicle manufacturers. The Tianshu charging stations would become nothing more than a decorative relic. All of Yi Bai's previous efforts and investments would be rendered futile. What to do? Yi Bai gazed at Zhang Hongying's worried face, and his previously somber expression suddenly transformed into a dismissive smirk. They think they can trap me with such childish tricks? How naive. Yi Bai turned back to the massive data screen. Hongying, immediately issue an announcement in the name of Yunxiao Technology across our official mini-program and all social media accounts. State that we deeply apologize for the incompatibility issues affecting certain vehicle models. A relevant solution is currently under urgent development and will be officially launched before midnight tonight. What? Zhang Hongying was utterly stunned. Brother, you can't be serious. It's already afternoon, and we have less than 8 hours until midnight. How can we possibly develop a solution that accommodates all models in such a short time? Who says it's impossible? Yi Bai replied with a confident smile, then issued a second directive. Add to the announcement that we will be releasing a brand new app named Yunxiao. All users who download it will be able to force compatibility with all electric vehicle models on the market for charging. Force compatibility. When those words escaped Yi Bai's lips, Zhang Hongying felt her mind momentarily falter. She stared at Yi Bai, questioning the feasibility of such a plan. Is this rational? Is this even humanly possible? Despite being filled with countless doubts, her unwavering trust in Yi Bai compelled her to quickly turn and execute the command. Watching Zhang Hongying's retreating figure, the cold smile on Yi Bai's lips deepened. They want to play tricks to undermine me? Then I shall show them what a true dimensional strike looks like. With that thought, his consciousness immediately delved into the second phase super laboratory in his mind. System. Initiate the autonomous development project for the Yunxiao app immediately. Ding. Detecting a new software development project. Confirm? Confirm. Autonomous development project Yunxiao app has been initiated, currently constructing functional modules. Estimated consumption of shock value, 500,000 points. 500,000. Not bad. Yi Bai unhesitatingly confirmed. Following this, he issued another command to the system. I need to immediately acquire software development and programming capabilities. Are there any relevant skills available for exchange? Ding. Detecting host demand, matching relevant skills. Match successful. Master-level software engineer skill package. Allowing the host to instantly master all mainstream programming languages, algorithm architectures, and network attack and defense techniques, becoming a top-tier software development master. Exchange required shock value, 100,000 points. Confirm exchange? Exchange. With Yi Bai's mental confirmation, an unimaginably vast stream of information surged into his mind like a flood breaking through a dam. Countless lines of code, exquisite algorithms, and complex system architectures suddenly became inherent instincts. His brain underwent a terrifying evolution in an instant. Excellent. Yi Bai reveled in the clarity of knowledge flooding his mind, a slight smile gracing his lips. He immediately engaged in the development process of the Yunxiao app with his master-level software engineering capabilities. Under his precise guidance, the development timeline that would have taken several hours was dramatically shortened. In less than 3 hours, a sleek yet extraordinarily powerful app was born. At 10 that evening, 2 full hours ahead of the promised midnight deadline, the Yunxiao app quietly launched on all major app stores. The announcement released by Zhang Hongying has already stirred a tremendous uproar on the internet. Countless car owners, plagued by the inability to charge their vehicles, along with bystanders eagerly awaiting to witness Yi Bai's downfall, approached the situation with a mix of skepticism and curiosity, promptly downloading the app. Upon opening the app, they were greeted by a clear and concise interface. Following the prompts to bind their vehicle information to the app, a miracle transpired. Wow, wow, wow. It can charge. My damning SU7 can truly charge. Oh my heavens. My Tesla has come back to life. With just a tap on the app, the current is flowing in. The car system doesn't even dare to make a sound. This is incredible. It's nothing short of a miracle. How did Yi Bai achieve this? Did he hack into all the automakers' backends? The speed at which this app went live after the announcement is astonishing. Under 8 hours. Is this development speed even humanly possible? I suspect Yi Bai is not merely human. He is a god. The internet fell silent, only to erupt with volcanic intensity into a frenzy. Everyone was left utterly stunned by Yi Bai's astonishingly swift response. This was no mere technical countermeasure. It was a ruthless technological domination. You lock my protocols? I simply develop an app that bypasses all your regulations and commandeers your vehicle's charging privileges from the cloud. You want to play dirty? I'll flip the table and demonstrate, in ways you cannot comprehend, who the true rule maker is. Yi Bai is undeniably formidable. At Dami Group, a cadre of technical executives gathered around a Dami SU7 charging at a Tianshu charging station. Their expressions a palette of astonishment, bewilderment, confusion, and ultimately, a profound sense of defeat. It has truly been hacked, murmured an engineer responsible for the vehicle system's security, his voice dry. Our BMS battery management system has been completely circumvented by the Yunxiao app, which has usurped the highest privileges, directly taking control of the vehicle's charging module. How is this possible? Our firewall, our encryption protocols, are as fragile as paper before it. The others remained silent, merely observing the unfolding spectacle, their minds churning with turmoil. As top-tier technical experts, they understood better than anyone the technical prowess required to develop an app capable of simultaneously accommodating and cracking all mainstream electric vehicle charging protocols within a mere few hours, an ability that far exceeded human capabilities. Meanwhile, similar scenes unfolded within the research centers of Tesla, BYD, and other car manufacturers as they exhausted every method to analyze the Yunxiao app's operational logic, attempting to uncover its vulnerabilities and regain control over their products. Yet, their efforts were as futile as a needle in the ocean. The Yunxiao app was akin to an impenetrable black box, revealing only results while concealing its internal workings. The technical counteroffensive had utterly failed. Legal, public relations, and marketing heads from various automakers convened for an emergency online meeting late into the night. Ladies and gentlemen, the technical failure is a foregone conclusion. Now, we must seek breakthroughs from other avenues, proposed the vice president of Tesla's Dragon Country division, his tone grave. I suggest we immediately file a lawsuit against the Yunxiao app for infringing on user privacy and jeopardizing vehicle battery safety. We should simultaneously launch a public relations offensive, depicting Yi Bai and his Black Tech Factory as a hacker organization that unscrupulously steals user data for profit. This proposal was met with vigorous agreement among the executives. Unable to defeat them technically, they resolved to tarnish their reputation on the grounds of regulations and public perception. However, the head of their legal department doused their enthusiasm with cold water. From a legal standpoint, our chances of success are minimal. The Yunxiao app has clearly informed users within its user agreement that it will take over the vehicle's charging management privileges, and users have consented. Furthermore, it has not stolen or uploaded any vehicle data beyond charging, making it difficult to classify as a privacy violation. As for endangering battery safety, that is an unverifiable proposition. Unless a vehicle spontaneously combusts due to using the Yunxiao app for charging, and we can provide solid evidence, this argument would not hold in court. So, while we may create a public uproar to slander them and morally condemn their actions, it is nearly impossible to force them to take down the app through legal means. Upon hearing this conclusion, the meeting room fell into silence once again. After a moment, the vice president of Tesla's eyes glimmered with determination. If we cannot deal with them legally, then let us proceed with a public relations strategy. What does it matter if we slander them? As long as we can incite panic among users and draw the attention of regulatory bodies, we will have achieved half our goal. I concur. An executive immediately chimed in. Let us organize an army of online commentators and partner media to disseminate articles highlighting the significant security risks posed by the Yunxiao app. Let us escalate this matter. The larger, the better. Exactly. Even if we cannot bring them down legally, we must make them pay a price. Soon, the automakers reached a nefarious consensus. A storm of public opinion against Yi Bai and the Yunxiao app began brewing in the shadows. Their first course of action was to collectively report to various app stores and regulatory authorities. The reasons for their reports were varied, but they all pointed to one conclusion. The Yunxiao app disrupted the original charging protocols, posing significant and unpredictable safety risks, demanding its immediate removal. The following day, the streets of Jinghai District were abuzz with activity. Countless electric vehicle owners, having experienced the miraculous technological turnaround the night before, eagerly drove their beloved cars to the newly operational Tianshu charging stations. They were keen to witness firsthand the legendary 10-minute full charge and seamless compatibility. Wow, it really works. The needle is rising faster than I can press the accelerator. This is amazing. No more all-night charging. In the time it takes to grab a pack of cigarettes from the convenience store downstairs, the battery is full. Yi Bai is incredible. The Yunxiao app is incredible. From this day forth, I am a devoted fan of Yi Bai. At each charging station, waves of astonishment erupted as car owners watched their vehicle's battery percentage soar. Excitement evident on their faces. More and more individuals, having personally experienced this unparalleled charging efficiency, spontaneously rallied on their social media platforms, car enthusiast groups, and various online communities to applaud the Tianshu charging stations and the Yunxiao app. The app's reputation spread like wildfire. In the span of just one morning, the download count for the Yunxiao app surpassed 10 million. Even car owners outside Jinghai District, driven by curiosity and precaution, rushed to download it. However, just as everyone was reveling in the euphoria brought about by this technological innovation, an unsettling voice shattered the joy. Wait, what is going on? My Yunxiao app, 1T open. Mine too. It says the application has been removed for violating relevant regulations. What the hell? What is happening? Who did this? A single pebble had sent ripples across the pond. The news of the Yunxiao app being reported and taken down spread like wildfire across the internet. Just moments ago, the car owners reveling in the joy of rapid charging were thrown into chaos. Anger, confusion, disbelief, various emotions surged through the online community. Who is behind this despicable act that seeks to deprive them of the technological benefits rightfully theirs? In the dark recesses of the tech factory, Yi Bai stared at the takedown notice from the App Store on his phone, his expression darkening to the point of dripping with frustration. It was evident that the automotive giants were pulling the strings behind this move. Unable to compete on a technical level, they resorted to underhanded tactics, reporting and slandering, Such despicable methods are truly beneath contempt. Just as Yi Bai's anger reached a boiling point, a call from Secretary de Kong interrupted him. Clearly, he had also received the news at the first opportunity. Yi Bai, do not rush or get upset, came Secretary de Kong's voice from the other end of the line. I am already aware of this matter. Their petty antics are merely attempts to muddy the waters, draw the attention of regulatory bodies, and apply pressure on you. However, they underestimate our government's resolve to support technologies that genuinely benefit the nation and its people. Secretary de Kang's tone shifted to one of unwavering firmness. Rest assured, they want to report us? They seek intervention from the regulatory authority? Then I shall show them what true official endorsement looks like. Pausing for emphasis, he made a promise that left Yi Bai astounded. I have communicated with the relevant leaders in the city and even the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology. By tomorrow at the latest, the Yunxiao app will not only be reinstated but will also be officially recognized as one of the safe applications for all new energy vehicle owners across the nation. It will receive the highest level of credibility, akin to national applications like the deceitful map and central bank video. I am eager to see what those clowns will say when the official government stands behind your technology. The outcome of this situation was not solely due to Secretary de Kang's support for Yi Bai. After all, promoting new energy technologies aligns with national strategy. It can be said that Yi Bai's endeavor coincides with national interests. Most importantly, Yi Bai himself has become a figure of significant influence. The higher-ups have immense trust in his technical abilities and character. In their eyes, he is a commendable comrade, possessing exceptional skills, a strong patriotic stance, and a willingness to sacrifice personal interests for the nation, despite a penchant for seeking the limelight. When such a person is wronged, especially while engaged in a cause that benefits the country and its citizens, how could the state remain indifferent? The process was seamless. Secretary de Kong was responsible for reporting, while the higher-ups handled the approvals. It was that straightforward. Chapter 360. The three major departments jointly issue a statement. Official endorsement? Secretary de Kong's promise acted as a calming balm, instantly dispelling all of Yi Bai's fury. He hung up the phone, a confident smile reappearing on his face, one that signified his mastery over the situation. Compared to the might of the state apparatus, any commercial conspiracy appeared laughable and impotent. As expected, the following morning, countless indignant car owners, still fuming over the Yunxiao app's takedown, habitually opened the App Store, only to be pleasantly surprised to find that the Yunxiao app had not only returned but had done so with an unprecedented, triumphant flair. Prominently featured on the homepages of major online mobile stores was a striking red-headed announcement jointly issued by the Ministry of Communications, the Ministry of Transport, and the General Administration. Joint announcement regarding the use of Yunxiao's safe charging application for new energy vehicle owners nationwide. The announcement was succinct yet powerful. It not only affirmed the advanced technology and safety of the Yunxiao app and its charging station technology, but also categorized it as an official whitelist application. Accompanying the announcement was a download link, boldly marked with the words, "Officially certified, download with confidence." Boom. This announcement detonated like a nuclear bomb, igniting an unprecedented wave of public discourse across the internet. What the heck? What the heck? What am I seeing? The three major departments jointly issue a statement. Officials are personally endorsing it. Incredible. This prestige is off the charts. I would call it the most formidable app in history. Haha, this is hilarious. I can almost hear the sound of shattered hearts from those automotive giants. They wanted to report it. Instead, they ended up certifying it officially. This move is nothing short of self-sabotage. With official endorsement, what else is there to say? Those still attacking Yi Bai must be feeling quite bruised. At that moment, all dissenting voices vanished, replaced by a tidal wave of downloads. The download numbers for the Yunxiao app surged at an unimaginable pace. 10 million, 30 million, 50 million. Within just a day, the downloads effortlessly surpassed the 100 million mark. This download frenzy was not confined to the new energy vehicle owners. Countless individuals previously indifferent to the matter, including students, were drawn in by the dramatic news. They may not have needed charging, but they were eager to witness firsthand the app that compelled all domestic automotive giants to unite against it, ultimately forcing the government to step in and affirm its legitimacy. In a single night, the Yunxiao app transcended its initial status as a niche tool and became a societal phenomenon capturing nationwide attention. As Yi Bai gazed at the rapidly escalating shock value on the system panel, his smile deepened. He even felt a sense of gratitude towards those automotive giants. Had it not been for their foolish, self-destructive reporting, he would never have imagined reaping such a massive influx of shock value from outside the usual circles. They had truly shot themselves in the foot. With the Yunxiao app's popularity reaching its zenith, Yi Bai understood the necessity of seizing the moment to convert this overwhelming traffic into direct, sustainable profits and shock value. Without a moment's hesitation, he set a new plan into motion. That evening, the Yunxiao app underwent a significant version update. A brand new feature, the Yunxiao Mall, was officially launched. The design of the mall interface was equally straightforward. However, when countless users clicked in with curiosity, they were left astonished, their minds racing. Portable rocket propellant fire extinguisher. The product detail page featured a striking promotional video. In the video, a firefighter wielded a fire extinguisher resembling an RPG rocket launcher. Aimed at a burning, scrapped vehicle, he pulled the trigger. Without water or dry powder, a visible white shockwave flashed by. In the next instant, the flames, hot enough to melt steel, were extinguished as if snuffed out by an invisible hand, all in under a second. Firefighting machine gun. The video transitioned, this time featuring a machine gun. Bullets rained down, and wherever they struck, the fire was instantly suppressed and extinguished. Its firefighting efficiency surpassed that of traditional high-pressure water hoses by 100-fold. What the heck? Is this really a fire extinguisher? This is certainly not just military equipment. Transforming firefighting tools into the guise of RPGs and Gatling guns. The ingenuity of Yi Shun is truly remarkable. Countless users, upon encountering these two firefighting products, were instantly ignited with a fervent desire to purchase. However, when they turned their gaze towards another section of the marketplace, they truly grasped the meaning of merely scratching the surface. The products within this section were not for sale. Rather, they were quietly displayed in a chronological manner. The Dragon King multifunctional urban rescue platform, mobile firefighting missile platform, boasts a fire extinguishing range that covers the entire city, deploying firefighting missiles to tackle any urban-scale disaster. The firefighting drone combat platform operates in swarms, coordinating aerial and ground efforts to ensure comprehensive situational awareness at the fire scene. Featuring firefighting mechs, combat suits, high-pressure electromagnetic fire cannons, anti-air firefighting cannons, and firefighting helicopters, each page revealed designs brimming with a sci-fi aesthetic, accompanied by astonishing technical summaries and video snippets of real heroic rescue operations that had previously created a sensation online. All users who ventured into this section were left utterly astonished. My heavens, so those black technologies that went viral online were all developed by Yunxiao. The firefighting Iron Man, the firefighting mechs, and that vehicle capable of launching firefighting missiles. I always thought they were mere movie effects, yet they are real. This is no longer just a company. It appears to be a hidden arms giant lurking among the common folk. Not just an arms giant. Did you not see the final collaboration roster? The Southern Theater, Central Theater, Eastern Theater, all 5 military districts. They have collaborated with them all. Such strength, such background, is simply formidable. Incredible. Beyond incredible. I can think of no other words. Astonishment. Unparalleled astonishment. When Yi Bai unveiled all his past achievements in the most direct and systematic manner, the impact was beyond any single event previously experienced. In that moment, everyone truly realized the terrifying power represented by the term Yunxiao, a force capable of reshaping the world and dominating the era. Chapter 361. A surge of 300 million shock value. Yi Bai gazed at the system panel, where the shock value had skyrocketed by an astounding 300 million overnight. Akin to riding a nuclear-powered rocket, and he was genuinely overjoyed. This was indeed a true ace. The reason for such immense popularity was also largely thanks to those automotive companies. Previously, Yi Bai's online prominence was confined to specific circles, far from achieving national discourse. This time, however, it could be said that he had created a nationwide sensation. Virtually no one was unaware of Yi Bai and Yunxiao technology. The Yunxiao marketplace was merely an appetizer, just as the entire internet was still immersed in the monumental shock brought by the Yunxiao marketplace. Yi Bai once again dropped a bombshell that would cause the world to tremble, a genuine nuclear bomb. On the homepage of the Yunxiao app, beneath an announcement released jointly by 3 major ministries, a brand new dynamic promotional page quietly replaced all prior content. At the center of the page hovered a vehicle suspended in virtual 3-dimensional space. Its design was innovative, markedly different from the current mainstream automobiles. Beside it, several bold, outlined advertising slogans were inscribed. Thunder Eye, the future has arrived. Terrifying 1,500-kilometer range. From the capital to the metropolis, one charge, and farewell to range anxiety. Accelerating from 0 to 100 kilometers h in 18 seconds. Performance is justice. Let all supercars turn to dust in your rearview mirror. Military-grade integrated die-cast body with intelligent liquid metal armor. Safety is the ultimate baseline for luxury and performance. Each slogan struck like a heavy hammer upon the hearts of every user who opened this page. When they clicked on the looping promotional video with a mix of skepticism, the entire world seemed to be muted at that moment. The first scene of the video unfolded on a professional F1 racetrack, where a red Thunder I vehicle stood silently at the starting line. As the signal lights extinguished, a barely audible surge of electricity heralded its launch. In the next instant, this red beast propelled forward with a speed that transcended human visual limits. In the lower right corner of the screen, the timer from professional equipment displayed numbers that soared wildly. 18 seconds. At the moment the speed surpassed 100 kilometers per hour, time froze at 18 seconds. The second scene depicted an extreme endurance challenge race spanning the entirety of Dragon Country, with a lineup of the most mainstream, top-tier flagship electric vehicles, including the Dummy SU7 and the Tay Law Model S, parked alongside a white Thunder I. At the signal, all vehicles surged ahead. However, after merely 600 kilometers, those so-called flagship electric vehicles began to falter one by one due to depleted power, while the white Thunder I continued to cruise at high speed, displaying remaining range on the dashboard that exceeded half. Ultimately, when it arrived at the destination 1,500 kilometers away, it still had surplus power. The third scene showcased the climax of the video, a breathtaking extreme safety crash test. In the testing ground, a hefty, fully loaded truck barreled side-on at 80 kilometers per hour towards a stationary Thunder I. Boom. The earth-shattering roar sent shivers down the spines of all spectators. Yet, as the smoke cleared, what appeared on screen was beyond the belief of all witnesses. The front of the heavy truck was utterly demolished, reduced to a twisted heap of scrap metal. Meanwhile, the black Thunder I, though pushed aside, remained remarkably intact in its A-pillar, B-pillar, and the entire driver's cabin. Its doors could even be opened normally. As the video concluded, the screen faded to black, and a line of text emerged in the center. Thunder I is not just a vehicle, it is your mobile fortress. Once the video finished playing, the entire internet fell silent. If the previous firefighting technologies had merely evoked feelings of shock and novelty, then this electric vehicle named Thunder I instilled an unprecedented, nearly suffocating sense of disruption. This was no longer just a car, it was the ultimate fantasy accessible to ordinary people. He has gone mad. Yishin has completely lost it. He is not satisfied with merely reshaping the firefighting industry. He is challenging all automobile manufacturers worldwide single-handedly. An 18-second acceleration, a 15-second endurance, and the tank-like safety to withstand heavy trucks. If this vehicle can be mass-produced, what future do other electric cars have? Not just electric cars. Gasoline vehicles are doomed. With that range and the insane charging speed of the Tianshu charging stations, who would still choose to drive those expensive, slow, and maintenance-heavy gasoline cars? Ibai? He is determined to single-handedly pull down the internal combustion engine era that has dominated humanity for over a century, banishing it from the stage of history. Everyone was acutely aware that when this vehicle named Thunder I combined with the already nationwide Tianshu charging network, a brand new, monopolistic electric vehicle empire, forged by Ibai himself, was poised to reign supreme. Ibai did not keep them waiting long. He directly launched the mass production crowdfunding and pre-sale channel for the Thunder I on the Yunxiao app. The crowdfunding goal is to complete the production and delivery of the first batch of the Thunder I model within a month. The pre-sale price is set at 200,000 Longwa currency. When this price was unveiled to the public, everyone was taken aback. 200,000. A vehicle that outperforms million-dollar Lamborghinis, boasts unmatched endurance, and possesses safety features akin to an armored vehicle, is priced at merely 200,000. This is no longer a question of value. It borders on philanthropy. It is a ruthless upheaval of the entire automotive industry. Following a brief moment of astonishment, a volcanic eruption of unprecedented purchasing frenzy ensued. As soon as the pre-sale channel opened, countless users surged in. The servers of the Yuntian app were nearly incapacitated by this unprecedented wave of traffic. On the screen, the vivid red numbers representing the pre-sale quantities soared at an unimaginable pace. 100,000, 300,000, 500,000. Within just 1 hour, the pre-sale count effortlessly surpassed 1 million units. 1 million units. This staggering figure left the CEOs of all automotive companies around the globe speechless, filled with a sense of shame. In the Black Technology Factory, Zhang Hongying watched the data continue to skyrocket in the back end, with no signs of slowing down. Her small hands clenched together anxiously, her voice trembling with excitement. The cost of one vehicle is 150,000, and with a selling price of 200,000. Our profit per unit is 50,000. If we achieve 1 million units, that equates to 50 billion. And this is merely the beginning. Chapter 362. I will repay your debts. Yi Bai leaned back in the chair of the central control room, calmly listening to this number that could drive anyone to madness. And this is merely the beginning, let alone the trifling debt of $3 billion. From this day forth, money will become nothing more than a string of meaningless digits for him. Turning his head, he glanced at Sun Ling, who was equally stunned into silence by the terrifying data, and a smile graced his face. Xiaoling, go and post a Douyin video. Let us officially announce to the world under the name of Yuntian Technology. The Thunder Eye model, within 1 hour of its pre-sale launch, has surpassed 1 million orders, with total sales exceeding 200 billion. Yes, brother. Sun Ling nodded earnestly, promptly turning to head to the adjacent studio to edit the video. A few minutes later, a brief video, lasting only a few seconds and featuring a montage of Thunder electric car promotional clips, appeared on Yuntian Technology's official Douyin account. The video was succinct, with a single line of text: 1 hour, 1 million units, 200 billion. Thank you for your support. The future is here. This video detonated like a nuclear bomb, unleashing shockwaves that swept across the entire Chinese internet. All media, all self-media, all social platforms seemed to hit the pause button at that moment. What followed was an unprecedented eruption of excitement. News outlets were ablaze with headlines. Official announcement. It really happened. 1 hour, 1 million units, 200 billion. My heavens. Am I dreaming? Is this a sales figure achievable in just 1 hour? This surpasses the GDP of many countries for an entire year. Insanity. This world has gone completely mad. Yi Shun is not just selling cars. He is printing money. 200 billion. This transcends ordinary business miracles. It is a divine phenomenon. A miracle that deserves a place in the annals of human commercial history. The media across the nation plunged into a frenzy. They exhausted every hyperbolic, shocking headline they could conceive to report on this unprecedented commercial miracle. 200 billion in 1 hour. Longhua Black technology shocks the world. A revolution in the automotive industry. Yi Bai single-handedly overturns a century of industrial norms. A new king ascends. The throne of the world's richest may soon change hands. This storm swiftly crossed national borders, sweeping the globe with unstoppable momentum. Whether it was the Eagle Sauce's New City Times or the Continental Financial Express, every mainstream authoritative financial media outlet worldwide reported this commercial legend from the East on their front pages, using the most eye-catching layouts. Countless foreign reporters and analysts, upon encountering this figure, fell into deep self-doubt. They could neither comprehend nor believe how a little-known, newly established tech company could generate such staggering sales in just 1 hour. This completely exceeded their understanding of the term business. Or perhaps, it surpassed their comprehension of the world itself. Historically, no enterprise had ever managed to achieve such an outrageous feat so effortlessly. Simultaneously, in the domestic sphere, top industry moguls were left with profound reflections upon witnessing this news. A perennial fixture among the top 3 on the wealthy list, an internet tycoon, shared this news in his social circle. Accompanied by a poignant remark, new talents emerge with each generation, each leading the way for centuries. Perhaps we truly are aging. The future belongs to the youth. Another legendary real estate magnate, during an internal executive meeting, pointed to the news headline while addressing his subordinates, who were still reveling in projects worth a few billion. He sighed deeply. Look, this is the power of technology. This is the trend of the future. While we are still haggling over bricks and mortar, they have already begun calculating wealth in the hundreds of billions on an hourly basis. The times have indeed changed. From this day forth, the Domestic Billionaire Club shall welcome a new member, one who may well be someone we all look up to. As the world marveled at the 200 billion sales myth, Yi Bai received a congratulatory message from Jiang Chumo. Yi Bai, you are incredible. You are not human. You are a deity. 200 billion in 1 hour. Do you realize that our Wuling Group, after a year of hard work, has a total sales figure that is less than your 1 decimal point? You are simply a monster. While the world was engulfed in the frenzy over the 200 billion sales miracle of Thunder electric cars, Yi Bai quietly departed from the capital, promptly returning to Huadu. By the time he arrived home, the atmosphere was predictably oppressive. In the living room, Yi Nantian sat on the sofa, looking exhausted, chain-smoking one cigarette after another. The ashtray before him was already piled high with cigarette butts. Meanwhile, his mother, Lin Shushua, was on the phone, speaking in an almost humble tone, pleading for money. Third uncle, I know times are tough for you too, but could you possibly lend us 5 million to tide us over? I beg you. Hello? Hello? on the other end of the line. It seemed the person found an excuse and hastily hung up. Lin Chuxue lowered her phone, her eyes filled with helplessness. Another one. Yi Nantian extinguished the cigarette. This was already the 10th one today. When we were thriving, who among these people was not eager to curry favor? Now that we are in trouble, they scatter faster than anyone else. It is easy to add flowers to a brocade. It is difficult to send charcoal in the snow. Listening to his parents' despondent conversation, Yi Bai felt as though an invisible hand was gripping his heart, causing him pain and rendering him breathless. Taking a deep breath, he finally pushed open the door and stepped inside. Dad, Mom, I'm back. Upon hearing his voice, Yi Nantian and Lin Chuxue turned abruptly. When they saw Yi Bai, shock, joy, and a hint of barely perceptible panic spread across their faces. Xiaobai. Lin Chuxue was the first to rise, swiftly walking to Yi Bai's side. Forcing a smile. Why are you back? Didn't I ask you to stay in the capital and not return? If I don't come back, should I just stand by and watch as you are humiliated one by these so-called relatives and friends? Yi Bai replied, his heart aching at the sight of his mother's haggard face. He gently placed a thick stack of news reports and background data on the coffee table. Dad, Mom, I'll take care of the debt you owe. Chapter 363. It's not 3 billion, it's 1 trillion. Upon hearing this, Yi Nantian chuckled bitterly and shook his head. We appreciate your intentions, but you don't understand, this time. Before he could finish, his gaze inadvertently fell upon the headlines of the news reports on the coffee table. 200 billion in 1 hour. Longwa's black technology shocks the world. Leidong Automobile. A night of ascendancy. Yi Nantian froze. He picked up a newspaper, staring at the report that dominated the entire page about Leidong electric vehicle. Along with that overly familiar name, his hands began to tremble uncontrollably. Lin Chuxue leaned in closer, and when she saw those astronomical sales figures, she was momentarily stunned. Leidong Automobile, 200 billion in sales, 500 billion in profit. She pointed to the analytical article on the newspaper, her voice shifting in pitch. Xiaobai, is this about you? How is this possible? You made 500 billion. The couple gazed at Yi Bai in disbelief, as if they were looking at an alien. Yi Bai remained silent, simply nodding calmly. He then recounted all his experiences from the past period to his parents in detail. That's wonderful, Yi Nantian exclaimed, slapping his thigh excitedly, his eyes instantly reddening. Looking at his son, who had grown to a point where he needed to look up to him, his voice choked with emotion. My greatest pride in this life isn't founding a 100 billion group, but giving birth to such a wonderful son. The Yi family has produced a dragon. Lin Chuxue was also overwhelmed with joy, tightly embracing Yi Bai. However, after a brief moment of excitement, a deeper cloud of concern once again shadowed her face. Gazing at Yi Bai, her lips moved, and she finally spoke with difficulty. Xiaobai, your 500 billion may not be enough. The hole we are in is much larger than you think. It's not just the $33 billion reported in the news, with various penalties and leveraged settlements. Our actual debt has exceeded 1 trillion. What? Yi Bai's pupils constricted sharply. 1 trillion? How can it be so much? He never imagined the family's debt could be so colossal. How could they owe so much? Even with Yi Bai's current confidence, the sheer magnitude of the number made his voice tremble involuntarily. Yi Nantian slowly raised his head, picking up a cigarette from the coffee table. He lit it and took a deep drag. It's all my fault. I was too eager for success and fell into the trap set by those foreign capitalists. He then recounted the events leading up to this point. As the Yi Group expanded, Yi Nantian harbored ambitions of entering the international capital market. At a commercial summit overseas, he met a top investment bank from Huai Street, which claimed to have a century of history. They painted an enticing picture and proposed a seemingly foolproof high-leverage betting agreement. The core of the agreement was to bet on the price trend of international crude oil over the next 3 months. If they won the bet, the Yi Group would receive returns several times the principal amount, reaching up to 1 trillion. If they lost, I was blinded by greed, Yi Nantian lamented, closing his eyes in anguish. I thought this was our chance to truly ascend and join the ranks of the world's elite families. If we won this bet, I could. His voice trailed off, and Yi Bai understood instantly. It was merely an attempt to gain recognition from the Lin family. The pressure from his maternal grandfather was indeed immense, but understanding didn't quell the anger that surged within him. He almost blurted out, Dad, are you foolish? You dared to sign such a pie-in-the-sky betting agreement. After all these years in business, don't you know what kind of ruthless characters those from Huai Street are? This is clearly a trap they set for you. His sharp rebuke echoed loudly and mercilessly. Yi Nantian flinched at the reprimand, looking up at his son's furious gaze, his old face turning crimson. He opened his mouth to retort, but ultimately remained silent, letting out a long sigh. Yes, I was indeed a fool. Lin Chuxue, Witnessing her husband's humiliation at their son's hands felt a pang of sympathy. She tugged at Yi Bai's sleeve, softly saying, "Xiao Bai, don't speak to your father like that. He did this for me, for our family. For you?" Yi Bai turned to his mother, who nodded. "Your maternal grandfather's family, the Lin family in the capital, has set their standards too high. Although your father and I have been married for many years, and you are so outstanding, your father started from scratch, and our foundation is still shaky. In their eyes, our Yi family remains merely a nouveau riche. Your father has always wanted to prove himself. Your grandfather has made it clear that only when your father can present $1 trillion in cash flow will he qualify to sit at the Lin family's table and participate in core family discussions. That is why he took such risks." Upon hearing this, Yi Bai was left utterly speechless. He finally comprehended the root of his father's irrational behavior. Ultimately, it all stemmed from the despicable disdain and vanity originating from the elite families. Although the Yi Group boasted a market value of $1 trillion, that was merely an estimation. A paper fortune, the actual cash flow was far less. His father had been suppressed by his father-in-law for so many years, forced into this situation. He had previously mentioned the immense pressure from his maternal grandfather, but he never anticipated it would be this outrageous. Leaning back on the sofa, Yi Bai exhaled deeply, all his anger dissipating into a sigh. Looking at the weary faces of his parents, he found himself at a loss for words. At this point, further discussion was futile. They needed to focus on solving the problem. "All right." Yi Bai stood up, walking to his parents and gently embracing them. "It's all in the past. What is $1 trillion? Don't worry. I will fill this hole. I will secure $1 trillion, or even more. I not only want to help you both stand tall again, but also ensure that the so-called Lin family in the capital will one day cry out, begging us to join their table." Both parents were taken aback, looking at their son with newfound unfamiliarity. After all, the surprises Yi Bai had given them lately were indeed overwhelming. Chapter 364, Drone Transportation Business. After calming his parents' emotions and assuring them of his ability to resolve everything, Yi Bai did not linger in Huadu. $1 trillion in debt loomed over him like a heavy mountain. Although Leidong Electric Vehicles' pre-sale results were remarkable, the 500 billion profit was merely a drop in the bucket. He needed to return to the capital immediately to conceive new projects that could rapidly generate immense wealth. When Yi Bai hurriedly returned to the Black Technology Factory, he unexpectedly discovered a familiar and striking figure waiting there, Jiang Chimo. Today, she donned a striking white suit. Her signature cascading waves of hair elegantly gathered high, exuding both competence and the alluring charm of a mature woman. Upon seeing Yi Bai return, she promptly approached him, her captivating phoenix eyes brimming with unabashed admiration. "Our esteemed tycoon, Yi Bai, has finally returned." Jiang Chimo leaned against the doorway of the control room, arms crossed, accentuating her breathtaking curves, her words laced with a teasing undertone. "An astonishing 200 billion in just 1 hour, with a net profit of 500 billion. You are now the most sought-after deity of wealth globally. Yet, you appear somewhat troubled?" Yi Bai let out a wry smile, moving to the central control panel to pour himself a glass of water, which he drank in one swift motion. 500 billion is still insufficient. Insufficient? Jiang Chimo paused, then burst into laughter as if she had heard the most ludicrous joke. "My esteemed boss Yi Bai, are you jesting? 500 billion is not enough? Are you planning to purchase the entire moon?" Yi Bai refrained from explaining his familial matters, instead gazing at Jiang Chimo with utmost seriousness. "Chimo, allow me to pose a question. I wish to earn an additional 500 billion in the shortest time possible. Apart from the automobile industry, which sector do you believe holds such immense potential in the current market?" Upon hearing this, Jiang Chimo's smile gradually faded. She recognized that Yi Bai was not jesting. As a rising star in the domestic new energy vehicle sector, her commercial intuition was undeniably sharp. After a moment of contemplation, a glimmer of insight sparkled in her eyes. "There's one. Delivery services." "Delivery services?" Yi Bai raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Indeed, delivery services." Jiang Chimo's gaze sharpened. "Do not underestimate this industry. Currently, both Kangaroo and Blue Knights boast valuations in the hundreds of billions. What underpins this vast empire? It is the people, the millions of delivery workers navigating the streets. Their wages, social security, and management costs constitute the largest expenditures for any delivery platform. Thus, whoever can achieve a revolutionary reduction in costs in this segment will gain an unparalleled competitive edge." Jiang Chimo looked at Yi Bai, her eyes shimmering with allure. "Imagine, if we could replace these millions of delivery workers with a novel, automated approach, just how vast would the profit potential be? Utilizing your cutting-edge technology to establish a fleet of drone delivery systems or autonomous delivery vehicles that can swiftly traverse the city. At that point, We could create an entirely new delivery platform, enticing all merchants with significantly lower commission rates. With faster delivery times and reduced fees, we would capture all users. In such a scenario, not just 500 billion, but acquiring hundreds of billions, perhaps even 1,000 billion, would be entirely feasible. One cannot deny that Jiang Chumo's commercial acumen was astoundingly sharp. Given Yi Bai's current technological capabilities, achieving automated delivery would be remarkably straightforward. Whether drones or autonomous vehicles, he could produce products far surpassing contemporary standards in a short span. This indeed presented a golden opportunity for amassing immense wealth in no time. However, after a brief moment of contemplation, Yi Bai slowly shook his head. This path is not viable. Why? Jiang Chumo looked at him, perplexed. This is clearly the best option. Yi Bai turned, his gaze deeply fixed on the scenery outside. Chumo, you are correct. From a business perspective, it is indeed a shortcut. Yet, we cannot proceed in this manner. This approach contravenes the natural order. Those millions of delivery workers support countless families. They rely on this arduous work to sustain their households. If we were to render them all unemployed overnight through technology, what societal issues would arise? How many families would find themselves in dire straits? We can utilize technology to revolutionize an industry, to eliminate outdated productivity, but we must not vie against the livelihoods of the people. Particularly, we cannot shatter the foundations of countless ordinary citizens for our own benefit. This is our bottom line. Upon hearing Yi Bai's declaration of not competing against the livelihoods of the people, Jiang Chumo was momentarily taken aback. Subsequently, a complex light flickered in her beautiful eyes as she regarded Yi Bai, a man several years her junior, yet imbued with a godlike power, her feelings intricate. I understand now. Jiang Chumo sighed softly. It seems my vision was still too narrow. She no longer insisted on her grand plan to disrupt the entire delivery industry, but instead shifted her perspective. Since we cannot fully replace, why not carve out a niche in the high-end market? The high-end market? Yi Bai regarded her with keen interest. Precisely. We can pioneer a new avenue, drone-based instant delivery. Our clientele would no longer be ordinary food orderers, but those in the middle and affluent classes who demand higher standards of time, efficiency, and privacy. She began to paint a vivid picture for Yi Bai. Imagine, in the bustling CBD of the capital, a corporate executive in a meeting desires a hand-brewed coffee from the trendiest cafe 5 kilometers away. With traditional delivery, by the time it arrives, the coffee would have long cooled. However, with our dedicated drone service, the time from order to delivery at his office window could be a mere 10 minutes. Moreover, consider scenarios involving delicate, private shopping needs. A mischievous smile crept across Jiang Chumo's face. For instance, in the dead of night, a couple suddenly requires a condom or some intimate toys. Sending them to a 24-hour convenience store would be somewhat awkward. But with our drones discreetly retrieving items from an adult store and delivering them right to their window, what an extraordinary user experience that would be. Chapter 365, a citywide intelligent safety network, even for more high-end commercial applications, such as the urgent delivery of an important contract between two local companies that must not be lost. Employing a drone service would not only be faster than any local express delivery, but would also ensure GPS tracking and encrypted flight paths for absolute security, circumventing traffic jams and elevator waits, along with various uncertainties. We could even establish intercity document transport services. From the capital to the metropolis, an urgent document could be delivered within hours via drone relay. This would be invaluable for time-sensitive business negotiations. As Jiang Chumo spoke, her excitement mounted, and her ideas expanded. What we can offer extends beyond mere food delivery or parcel shipping. We can deliver everything that requires timeliness, privacy, and high value. This is an entirely new blue ocean market devoid of competitors. We are providing users with an unprecedented, value-added, high-end instant delivery service. Of course, the market scale of this avenue may not rival that of completely disrupting the delivery industry. My preliminary estimate suggests that the market size in just the capital city could be around 10 billion. However, Jiang Chumo's eyes sparkled with ambition. This is still a substantial income. Moreover, once our model is validated in the capital, it can be swiftly replicated across all first and new-tier cities nationwide. By then, the cumulative market across these dozens of cities could potentially generate hundreds of billions in annual output. Listening to Jiang Chumo's analysis, Yi Bai's eyes gradually brightened. It was undeniable that this woman possessed extraordinary business acumen. Rather than competing for the interests of the lower classes, she sought to profit from the affluent, providing them with unparalleled services. This approach was not only commercially viable, but also morally justifiable. After listening to the figure of several billion, Yi Bai shook his head lightly. though he acknowledged it in his heart. It simply wasn't enough. Not enough. Jiang Chumo was utterly astonished, gazing at Yi Bai in disbelief. My dear boss, how much do you owe? You find hundreds of billions in profit insufficient? She scrutinized him with a half-joking tone. Come clean. Have you gotten a princess from some small country pregnant, and now the king demands you pay an entire nation's GDP as a bride price? Money isn't that easily earned. To generate several hundred billion in pure profit in just a year or two is enough to make 99% of publicly listed companies in the world blush. With a hint of resignation, Jiang Chumo shrugged her shoulders. Let me think of other avenues. However, one must take things step by step. I still suggest we start with the high-end drone delivery project. After all, it is a guaranteed profitable venture. That is true, Yi Bai nodded, accepting her advice. A hole of 1,000 billion could not be filled in one gulp. The urgent task was to swiftly transform all existing technologies into projects capable of generating stable cash flow. Suddenly, a bold, even whimsical notion sparked in Yi Bai's mind. Chumo, what do you think would happen if we combined delivery drones with firefighting drones? Combined? Jiang Chumo was momentarily taken aback, not grasping his intent. Yi Bai's thoughts were instantly illuminated. We could create a revolutionary dual-use urban intelligent patrol drone platform. In the absence of a fire emergency, they would serve as efficient, convenient delivery drones, traversing the skies of the city, delivering takeout, packages, and documents to generate profit. However, once the city's fire department receives any fire alarm signal, these drones, strategically positioned throughout the city, could instantly switch to firefighting reconnaissance mode. They could swiftly reach the scene of the fire, utilizing onboard high-definition cameras and infrared thermal imaging to relay first-hand footage back to the Fire Command Center, providing invaluable information for subsequent rescue decisions. We could even equip these drones with small fire suppression modules. Before the fire truck arrives, they could immediately suppress and extinguish initial, localized fires. This idea was nothing short of genius. It not only addressed the profitability issue of the drone project, but also perfectly integrated it with urban public safety and firefighting emergency systems. This was no longer merely a commercial project. It was a significant urban-level intelligent safety network with immense social value and strategic importance. I must contact Secretary Dekong immediately. Yi Bai grew increasingly excited, grabbing his phone to propose this concept for a pilot program in Jinghai District. The call was quickly connected, and after hearing Yi Bai's ambitious proposal, Secretary Dekong fell into a prolonged silence. After a long pause, Secretary Dekong's voice finally came through. Comrade Yi Bai, I am once again awed by your imagination. This concept is grand and flawless. Once realized, it will completely transform our existing urban emergency response model. However, Secretary Dekong's tone shifted. Such a groundbreaking project deserves more than a mere pilot in Jinghai District. Instead of testing it here, I believe you should go directly to Xiongguan. Everything there is built for the future, and your project would be a perfect match. Of course, Secretary Dekong added. Xiongguan is still in the construction phase, and many supporting facilities are not yet complete. If you wish to see commercial returns quickly, I recommend first going to Shenzhen. It is at the forefront of technological innovation in our country and the global capital of the drone industry, boasting the most comprehensive supply chain and an open market environment. Piloting your project there will yield great results in both technical validation and commercial promotion. But remember, Shenzhen is merely a stepping stone. The future undoubtedly belongs to Xiongguan. Listening to Secretary Dekong's advice, Yi Bai fell into contemplation. Xiongguan was undoubtedly the ultimate, most perfect stage. Yet, as Secretary Dekong pointed out, it was still under construction, and its popularity had not fully materialized. What he needed most now was time and a vast market capable of rapid monetization. Shenzhen, as the technological capital of Longhua and even the world, was undoubtedly the best choice at present. I understand, Secretary, Yi Bai concluded decisively. We will pilot in Shenzhen. Chapter 366. The company just established, surrounded? Having made his decision, Yi Bai acted without hesitation. With Jiang Chumo's assistance, he quickly connected with the Secretary of Shenzhen through business partners. When Yi Bai presented the concept of the dual-use, military-civilian integrated urban intelligent patrol drone platform via video conference to Shenzhen's leadership, applause erupted on the other end of the line. Welcome, we in Shenzhen, representing over 10 million citizens, warmly welcome Comrade Yi Bai and your technological project to settle in Shenzhen. The Secretary of Shenzhen exclaimed excitedly on camera. Being appointed as Secretary of Shenzhen, he was inherently a person of reformative and innovative spirit, naturally supportive of Yi Bai's ideas. The two parties found common ground swiftly. Soon, the cooperative details were rapidly finalized. Yi Bai registered a platform drone company named Eye of the Firmament in Shenzhen. The company was located in the Nanshan Science and Technology Park, renowned as the capital of drones. The first batch consisted of 100 state-of-the-art multifunctional drones produced by cutting-edge technology factories, intended for pilot operations. Simultaneously, with Jiang Chumo's extensive network, the company's founding team was quickly assembled. A young man named Li Haoran, who had previously served as an executive in the world's largest drone company, was appointed as the CEO of Eye of the Firmament, tasked with overseeing the company's daily operations in Shenzhen. Everything was progressing smoothly. However, on the very day Eye of the Firmament was officially established and publicly announced its drone delivery service, an unforeseen storm swept in. When over 200,000 delivery personnel in Shenzhen saw the sci-fi-inspired drone and the slogan promising more efficient and convenient delivery services, a wave of panic surged from within. Delivery by drone. Aren't they trying to take our jobs? They exclaimed. Sounds nice. What high-end service? What new path? Once their drones are deployed, the first thing they'll do is lower delivery fees and steal our orders. We'll all be unemployed. Our families will suffer. Panic spread like a virus through tens of thousands of delivery personnel's WeChat groups. In just one afternoon, this anxiety morphed into anger. The next morning, thousands of delivery personnel gathered spontaneously at the newly established Eye of the Firmament's entrance, blocking the entrance completely. Holding high a banner emblazoned with slogans such as "Resist Drone Delivery," "Restore Our Livelihoods," and "Technology must not become a tool for capitalist exploitation." The crowd was filled with fervor. Li Haoran, CEO of Sky Eye, promptly emerged, attempting to pacify the agitated assembly. Masters, brothers, please, let us remain calm. Allow me to explain, he implored, his voice strained as he wielded a loudspeaker. Our Sky Eye provides high-end, differentiated delivery services, which do not conflict with your existing businesses. However, his words were drowned out by a tidal wave of anger emanating from the crowd. Don't listen to his nonsense. Not a word from the capitalists can be trusted. What do they mean by no conflict? Once they secure their foothold, they will squeeze us as they please. If we don't thwart them today, we will all perish tomorrow. Get out. Sky Eye, get out of the Shenzhen market. No matter how Li Haoran attempted to elucidate or reassure, the delivery personnel, engulfed in panic and fury, refused to listen or believe. They lingered at the company in trance, neither chanting slogans nor storming in, but resolutely refusing to disperse. This highly charged scene soon attracted a multitude of media reporters, their cameras flashing incessantly. Some astute online streamers set up their phones at the company gates, commencing live broadcasts. In an instant, the stark contradiction between technology and livelihood, capital and sustenance, was laid bare before the nation. On its very first day, Sky Eye found itself ensnared in an unprecedented whirlwind of public opinion. In the capital, at the high-tech factory, Yi Bai watched the live stream of the protest outside the Sky Eye office, observing Li Haoran's flustered demeanor. Rather than displaying any concern, a hint of amusement crept across his face. Trouble? Bring it on. He seized his phone and dialed Li Haoran. Mr. Li, came the voice from the other end. You see the situation, right? What should we do? I've already called the police, but no need to involve the police, Yi Bai interjected. He then issued a series of directives that left Li Haoran astounded. First, you must withdraw 500,000 in cash from the bank immediately. Then, arrange for a massive, transparent bulletproof glass box to hold this cash, placing it prominently at the main entrance of the company. Second, procure a loudspeaker and announce several key points to all the protesting delivery personnel. Inform them that Sky Eye will not only refrain from taking away their livelihoods, but will also offer them a brand new, better opportunity. Starting today, we are officially recruiting the first batch of drone riders from the public. All applicants can participate in a month-long training program on drone operation and maintenance, provided free of charge. During the training, the company will cover meals and accommodations, plus an additional daily stipend of 100 yuan for each person. Upon completion, all who pass the assessment can officially join Sky Eye as employees, signing formal labor contracts and receiving social insurance. The base salary after confirmation is 8,000 yuan, with no upper limit. Finally, Yi Bai emphasized, to express our sincerity, every worker who comes to our company today can receive a 100 yuan hardship allowance upon presenting their ID, drawn directly from the cash-filled glass box. What? Li Haoran on the other end was utterly taken aback. His mouth agape, he questioned whether he had misheard. Distributing cash on site? Free training with stipends? An 8,000 yuan base salary with benefits? Was this a recruitment drive or a charitable endeavor? Yet, Yi Bai's instructions left no room for negligence. After all, he was the boss. Without delay, Li Haoran set off to execute Yi Bai's orders. Half an hour later, when the enormous glass box filled with freshly minted cash was positioned at the entrance of Sky Eye, all present were rendered speechless by this blunt display. Li Haoran, through the loudspeaker, relayed Yi Bai's recruitment and benefit policies verbatim. The protest crowd fell into stunned silence, exchanging bewildered glances. Free training? A daily stipend of 100 yuan? An 8,000 yuan base salary with benefits? Could they truly receive 100 yuan for merely showing up today? Was this real? After a brief pause, fervent discussions erupted among the crowd. Is this for real? They wouldn't be deceiving us, would they? An 8,000 yuan salary. I toil endlessly as a delivery worker and barely earn that much in a month. Who cares if it's true? Let us grab that 100 yuan first. Free money is free money. Soon, the first brave delivery worker, still in disbelief, stepped forward and presented his ID. After verification, he was handed a crisp 100 yuan note from the glass box. Wow. This moment ignited a fire of enthusiasm among the crowd. They are really giving out money. Hurry. Line up. The assembly transformed from a protest into a long queue for hardship allowances. Meanwhile, the reporters who had been fervently broadcasting were left dumbfounded by this sudden shift in tone. We see that Sky Eye has adopted a remarkably straightforward approach to address the delivery workers' demands. Whether this monetary solution can truly resolve the underlying conflict remains to be seen. Across the internet, countless viewers of the live stream were enviously captivated. What kind of divine company is this? Protesting at the company gates. And you can still get paid? An 8,000 yuan salary, social benefits, and free training. This job seems too good to be true. Is it too late to quit my job and become a delivery worker? I'm so envious. Where can I find such a great job? Yi Bai? Do you still need people? I would settle for 5,000. What began as a tense public protest was effortlessly diffused by Yi Bai's unorthodox financial strategy, in a manner no one anticipated. When Jiang Chumo saw how Yi Bai resolved the blockade crisis with such a remarkable display of ingenuity, she immediately called him. Yi Bai, I find myself increasingly perplexed by your methods. You have countless firmer, more direct ways to handle this situation. Why choose such a costly approach? Are you recruiting employees or merely subsidizing a group of nobles? Jiang Chumo's inquiries were incisive and grounded. She believed Yi Bai could easily leverage his background and power to forcefully clear the disruptive delivery workers, without needing to appease them so humbly. Yi Bai, sensing her skepticism, merely offered a serene smile. Chumo, do you recall what I mentioned before? Do not compete with the people for their livelihood. They are the most marginalized laborers in our society. Their protests do not stem from a desire to cause trouble, but from a genuine fear of losing their means of survival. Their panic is real. Their anger is quite understandable. Thus, I am inclined to offer them an opportunity. I am willing to provide free training, allowing them the chance to transition from mere manual laborers to modern drone couriers equipped with the skills required for the new era. Should they prove their capability through diligent effort and ultimately pass the assessment, it would demonstrate their adaptability to the development of this age. The doors of our celestial eye shall remain perpetually open for them. However, should they fail to put forth the necessary effort, resorting to deceit during training and ultimately unable to pass the evaluation, no one can be blamed but themselves. The opportunity has been extended if they fail to seize it. That is their own concern. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Chumo fell into a prolonged silence on the other end of the line. Yet, she remained somewhat perplexed. This approach incurs excessive costs. Furthermore, what if they acquire the skills but do not apply them diligently, or worse, take your expertise and move to another company? Would we not have labored in vain for others? A light chuckle escaped Yi Bai's lips, his tone imbued with unwavering confidence. Chumo, your perspective remains confined to the Shenzhen market. Have you considered the immense demonstrative effect that could arise if our model of transforming delivery personnel into drone couriers proves successful here? When we expand our business across the nation, reaching cities like Rongqing, the capital, and the metropolis, will we face the same issues? No. Because delivery personnel everywhere will understand that our celestial eye is not here to usurp their livelihood, but rather to offer them a better, more dignified, and higher-paying opportunity. By then, upon entering a new city, we shall be met not with resistance and protests, but with warmth and support. This will eliminate the greatest obstacle to the rapid promotion of our drone delivery model nationwide. As for your concerns about them jumping ship after acquiring the technology, that will be of no consequence. When our celestial eye becomes the undisputed leader in this industry, where else could they possibly go? Once we establish a stronghold and create a de facto monopoly, the rules will be dictated by us. At that point, I shall no longer fear their tricks. As Yi Bai laid out this comprehensive strategic plan, from soothing public sentiment to national expansion and ultimately achieving industry monopoly, Jiang Chumo was utterly captivated. After a moment of stunned silence, she finally recovered from the overwhelming shock. Yi Bai, you truly possess grand vision. How astute you are. I retract my previous statements. You are not merely burning money. You are strategically investing at minimal cost in a game that could revolutionize the entire industry. Chapter 368, New Project. Modifying the Xiaoying 500 aircraft in response to Jiang Chumo's praise, Yi Bai merely smiled. This does not resolve the issue. Although the drone delivery project has officially commenced in a nearly flawless manner, the colossal burden of $1 trillion in debt still weighs heavily on his heart. Sighing softly, Yi Bai silently calculated. The first batch of orders for Thunder electric cars promises a profit of 500 billion. The drone delivery network, even if it successfully spreads across all first-tier cities within a year, will yield a maximum profit of only 200 to 300 billion. Combined, that barely reaches 700 to 800 billion, still falling short by over 200 billion of the trillion yuan deficit. Moreover, these profits are not immediately accessible. The production and delivery of Thunder electric cars require time, and so does the establishment and profitability of the drone network. The wolves on Huai Street will certainly not grant him ample time. Where can he possibly secure such a substantial amount to fill the remaining cash flow gap of over 400 billion? Yi Bai rubbed his throbbing temples, feeling a momentary sense of powerlessness. Still troubled by that remaining few hundred billion? Hearing Yi Bai's sigh, Jiang Chumo inquired. Yi Bai managed a wry smile and nodded. Indeed. After much contemplation, I remain uncertain about which industry to tackle next. Jiang Chumo pondered for a moment before offering a suggestion. Since you have already manufactured vehicles for the ground and experimented with drones in the sky, have you considered venturing into the realm of actual aircraft? Aircraft? Yi Bai's eyes widened in surprise. Yes, commercial aircraft, Jiang Chumo affirmed. Did you know? Just last year, the global market for civil aviation passenger aircraft reached over 180 billion US dollars. Each year, over 400 to 500 new large aircraft need to be delivered to major airlines. This market has long been monopolized by the two giants, Airbus and Boeing. Their planes are not only exorbitantly priced, but also suffer from sluggish technological advancements, with hardly any revolutionary breakthroughs in decades. Jiang Chumo's excitement was palpable. Yi Bai can work miracles. What do you think? If you could disrupt this aviation sector that has been under monopoly for over half a century, would you not be capable of producing aircraft that are safer, more fuel-efficient, and more advanced? I believe airlines around the world would eagerly wave their cash in hopes of purchasing from you. At that point, even a few hundred billion would be trivial for you. Jiang Chumo's words struck Yi Bai like a bolt of lightning, instantly dispelling the fog in his mind. Of course, aircraft. How could he have overlooked this highly profitable sector that is also relatively easy to establish technological barriers within? This is splendid. Having already modified military tanks, it is indeed time to turn to aircraft. A mere commercial passenger plane would pose no challenge at all. After ending the call, Jiang Chumo promptly headed to the Black Technology Factory. If they were to embark on the journey of aircraft, it would be best to discuss it face to face. Just as Jiang Chumo arrived, Yi Bai's phone rang once more. He picked it up, noticing a somewhat familiar yet elusive number. Curiously, he answered the call. Hello? Who is this? Yi God. It's me, Yuan Tong. Do you remember me? Came a voice brimming with excitement from the other end. Yuan Tong. Yi Bai recalled the name and quickly connected the dots. The captain who had been wronged. The one who had lost his title to Spicy Fish Head. Oh, it's you. Captain Yuan, Yi Bai responded with a smile. What can I do for you? Yi God, the thing is, I recently acquired an aircraft. I was wondering if you have time to help me modify it? Yuan Tong's voice carried a hint of embarrassment, yet it was overshadowed by palpable anticipation. It's not a large plane, just the most affordable domestic Xiaoying 500. Upon hearing the name Xiaoying 500, Jiang Chumo raised an eyebrow and leaned closer to Yi Bai, whispering, The Xiaoying 500 is our nation's first lightweight multi-purpose aircraft developed in accordance with international standards. Due to its excellent performance and relatively affordable price, it has been selected as the primary trainer for our pilots. Its market price is approximately 199 million yuan, and it is affectionately dubbed the Sky Mercedes by aviation enthusiasts. Intrigued, Yi Bai felt a surge of curiosity. Captain Yuan, how did you suddenly acquire the means to purchase such a private jet? Though the price of 199 million is but a trifling sum for him, it remains a considerable expense for an ordinary civil aviation captain. Even if Yuan Tong received a bonus from a racing competition, one must question whether that amount suffices to acquire an aircraft. After the purchase, The associated services would represent a significant expenditure as well. On the other end of the line, Yuan Tong's tone shifted to one of uncontainable pride. Hee, Lord Yi. You may be unaware, but I was recently dispatched by the company to the Middle East as a flight consultant for the Royal Airlines of the Sand Camel. Coincidentally, a prince there whimsically decided to learn to fly, and I became his personal instructor. As a result, guess what? I taught him so well that the affluent prince, in his delight, gifted me a brand new Beechcraft Baron 500 as a reward for my teaching. Just the other day, all the paperwork was finalized, and the plane was transported back to our country. Naturally, I thought of you first, hoping you could bless it. Upon hearing this, Yi Bai and Jiang Chumo exchanged glances, each reflecting a mixture of amusement and disbelief. Impressive. Yi Bai couldn't help but give a thumbs up to the phone. Wealthy individuals can indeed be extravagant. A plan rapidly formed in Yi Bai's mind, not to mention that he had already intended to engage with aircraft. He had previously promised to modify a plane for Yuan Tong. It was only natural to oblige him now. Simply deliver the aircraft to my factory in the capital. I will send you the exact address shortly. Absolutely, Lord Yi. Thank you so much. I will arrange it immediately. Yuan Tong's excitement was palpable as he babbled on the other end. After hanging up, Yi Bai felt an immense sense of joy. With everything in place, he merely awaited the final piece to fall into place, which had now fortuitously presented itself. Jiang Chumo, observing Yi Bai's eager demeanor, couldn't help but smile genuinely. With an elegant stretch, she declared, well, since your new toy has arrived, I should return to my own affairs concerning the Thunder electric car. She walked to the door, casting a glance back with a smile. Good luck with the aircraft. I eagerly anticipate witnessing how you will once again astound the world. With that, she departed gracefully, her high heels clicking softly as she left. Once Jiang Chumo was gone, Yi Bai's thoughts immediately plunged into the depths of his mind, where the second phase of his super laboratory awaited. His gaze quickly fixed upon the most central and pivotal project within the lab. Chungying drone armor, self-development progress. 60. Gazing at the pulsating progress bar, Yi Bai was filled with anticipation. Chungying represented the pinnacle of his current research endeavors, embodying the highest level of technological sophistication and his most awaited ultimate individual combat equipment. Once its development reached completion, it would genuinely alter the world. This was also the first step of the Nanchaman plan. Soon, very soon, Yi Bai murmured to himself, harboring a strong premonition that when the Chungying's development progress reached 100, the technology it would unveil would be breathtaking and revolutionary. Just as Yi Bai immersed himself in boundless musings about future technology, a resounding roar of engines echoed from outside the factory. A remarkably long heavy-duty trailer slowly made its way into the factory hangar, carrying a brand new Beechcraft Baron 500 adorned with a sleek, white finish. Yuan Tong leaped from the driver's seat and hurried over to Yi Bai, his face beaming with uncontainable excitement. Lord Yi, the plane has arrived for you. Accompanying him was a young Middle Eastern man clad in a white robe and wearing a distinctive headdress, exuding an air of nobility. Lord Yi, allow me to introduce you. Yuan Tong gestured towards the young man. This is Prince Salman of the Sand Camel, the original owner of this aircraft. Upon seeing Yi Bai, Prince Salman immediately smiled and extended his hand, speaking in a somewhat halting yet impressively fluent Mandarin. Mr. Yi, greetings. I have long admired your reputation, and seeing you today, it is indeed as remarkable as I have heard. Your Highness, you are too kind, Yi Bai replied, shaking his hand, though curiosity bubbled within him. Yuan Tong explained. His Highness became quite curious upon hearing that I intended to bring this aircraft to you for modifications and insisted on accompanying me to witness what you would transform it into. Prince Salman nodded, his eyes gleaming with unabashed opulence. Mr. Yi, Yuan Tong is my mentor and my dearest friend. His aircraft is as good as mine. Therefore, you needn't worry about the costs of the modifications. I shall cover everything. Please, unleash your imagination and create something truly unique. Hearing the classic phrase laden with monetary implications, Yi Bai couldn't help but smile. Truly, Prince Salman was audacious. Recognizing the respect for technology, he was indeed the best in the world. While engaging in pleasantries with Prince Salman, Yi Bai discreetly initiated a system scan of the Beechcraft Baron 500 before him. Ding. New vehicle detected. Beechcraft Baron 500 light multi-purpose aircraft. Vehicle rating, C-Class. The system's notification made Yi Bai aware. Currently, modifications were not possible. However, having already modified 9 D-Class vehicles, he required only one more to unlock the higher-level B-Class modification privilege. This Beechcraft Baron 500 arrived at the perfect time. Nevertheless, this was his first encounter with aircraft modifications, and many technical details would require meticulous study and planning. With this in mind, he addressed Yuan Tong and Prince Salman. Captain Yuan, Your Highness, I appreciate your trust. However, the aircraft structure is far more complex than that of a car. I will need some time to thoroughly examine its internal composition before I can propose the most impeccable modification plan. No problem, Lord Yi, Yuan Tong immediately assured, patting his chest. Take your time. Even if it takes a year or more, we can wait. Prince Salman readily nodded in agreement. Mr. Yi, you are the master. We respect your creative pace. The aircraft will remain with you. Should you require anything, feel free to contact us at any time. Very well, Yi Bai replied with a smile. After bidding farewell to Yuan Tong and the noble Prince Salman, Yi Bai pondered how he could modify another D-class vehicle when an unexpected visitor arrived at his doorstep. The newcomer was none other than Lan Guangji from the Eastern Military District. Major Yi, finally caught you, Lan Guangji exclaimed, rushing forward to shake Yi Bai's hand tightly, as if fearing he might escape. Lately, Yi Bai had been preoccupied with other matters, leaving little time to attend to military affairs. What brings you here in person? Is there something that could not be conveyed over the phone? Yi Bai smiled, welcoming him inside. A phone call. Lan Guangji waved his hand, a faint smile of concern gracing his face. This matter cannot be clearly explained over the phone. If I hadn't intervened, our district commander would have come personally to block your door. Oh, what has happened? Yi Bai sensed something significant was afoot, aware that the military must be facing some technical challenge. It was both an opportunity and a troublesome predicament. Lan Guangji wasted no time and got straight to the point. Our Military Research Institute has recently developed a new tactical missile codenamed GT-100. This missile represents a significant breakthrough in our defense technology. Its guidance system is remarkably precise. The warhead possesses immense power. Most critically, through technological innovation, we have managed to reduce its single-unit manufacturing cost to an unprecedented low. Lan Guangji spoke with palpable excitement. However, his tone shifted, and a look of helplessness crossed his face. Its size is rather awkward. If one were to consider it small, it is still larger than all our currently deployed individual rocket launchers, rendering it impossible for a soldier to carry and launch. Conversely, if deemed large, it is still much smaller than the missiles mounted on our heavy missile launch vehicles. Chapter 370. Unlocking Sea-Level Permissions. If we were to force it onto those hefty platforms, it would not only waste precious launch units, but also be a gross misallocation of resources, leading to extremely low cost-effectiveness. Thus, we find ourselves in possession of a formidable weapon with a low cost, yet we are unable to identify a suitable launch platform that can fully exploit its advantages. The experts at the military factory are nearly pulling their hair out over this dilemma. The leadership is equally anxious, holding daily meetings to devise a plan for a new missile launch vehicle specifically tailored for it. Lan Guangji looked at Yi Bai, his eyes brimming with anticipation. Hence, I have come. Upon hearing Lan Guangji's account, Yi Bai's interest was immediately piqued. A newly designed missile that is powerful, cost-effective, yet constrained by its awkward size? Opportunity knocks when one is least prepared. This is incredibly timely. Let us go. Yi Bai decisively instructed Lan Guangji. Take me to see it. Half an hour later, at a highly confidential weapons testing site in the Eastern Military District, Yi Bai finally laid eyes on the legendary GT-100 missile, as well as the anti-tank missile launch vehicle the military intended to modify as a foundational platform. Yi Bai silently conducted a system scan of the launch vehicle. Ding. New vehicle detected. Hongjian, 10 anti-tank missile launch vehicle. Vehicle rating, D-level. A D-level vehicle can be modified. Yi Bai felt reassured and turned to Lan Guangji. General Lan, what specific requirements does the military have for this new missile vehicle? Upon hearing this, Lan Guangji immediately perked up. He pulled out a prepared technical specification document and handed it to Yi Bai. There are two main requirements. First, the payload capacity must be substantial. The larger, the better. Given the GT-100's extraordinarily low cost, we aim to conduct a saturation strike on high-value enemy targets at the front lines without concern for expenses. Therefore, we hope the payload capacity of a single vehicle will be at least 32 rounds. Second, mobility must be exceptional. Its primary combat mission is to accompany our armored forces in rapid infiltration and surprise attacks. Thus, it must possess off-road capabilities and battlefield maneuverability on par with our main battle tanks. Listening to these two demands, Yi Bai could not help but furrow his brow slightly. This is a classic case of wanting it all. A larger payload capacity inherently increases the vehicle's weight and size, which will inevitably affect its mobility. These two aspects are almost irreconcilable contradictions within traditional design principles. However, for Yi Bai, while this presents a challenge, it is not insurmountable. After a moment's contemplation, he nodded. Very well, I shall take on this task. Seeing Yi Bai's affirmative response, Lan Guangji's face flushed with excitement as he grasped Yi Bai's hand tightly. Excellent. Comrade Yi Bai, I knew you would find a solution. He immediately instructed his aide. Quick. Go to the finance office and transfer 30 million as a deposit to Comrade Yi Bai's company account. With the military's deposit and technical requirements secured, Yi Bai wasted no time and immediately sequestered himself in the exclusive modification workshop of the high-tech factory, standing before the Hongjian 10 anti-tank missile launch vehicle. He immersed himself in the system panel in his mind. Target vehicle, Hongjian 10 anti-tank missile launch vehicle. Commencing modular modification. First, the power system. Yi Bai unhesitatingly replaced the existing diesel engine with a microcontrolled nuclear fusion reactor, the one he was most familiar with and which possessed formidable power. This powerful energy source, akin to infinite energy, would provide the new missile vehicle with nearly boundless energy. Next, the chassis and suspension system. To meet the extreme off-road requirements comparable to a main battle tank, Yi Bai directly equipped it with an electromagnetic active suspension system. This system can use high-precision sensors to perceive ground conditions in real time, adjusting the electromagnetic forces of each suspension unit within milliseconds, allowing it to traverse rugged terrain or muddy marshes while maintaining high speeds and a stable driving posture. Finally, the most crucial aspect, the weapon system. This is the heart of the modification. How to fit at least 32 GT-100 missiles within a limited vehicle space. Yi Bai's solution was a honeycomb-style vertical cold launch system. He discarded the traditional inclined launch frame and transformed the rear half of the vehicle into a tightly arranged vertical launch matrix crafted from high-strength alloys, resembling a beehive. Each launch unit employed electromagnetic ejection cold launch technology, significantly reducing the launch interval while avoiding the massive backfire associated with traditional hot launches, granting rapid strike capability in any confined space. After meticulous calculations and spatial optimization, he successfully accommodated a total of 120 launch units on this vehicle, far exceeding the military's requirement of 32 rounds. Ding. Modular modification plan generated. Installation of microcontrolled nuclear fusion reactor consumes 20 million shock points. Installation of electromagnetic active suspension system consumes 15 million shock points. Installation of honeycomb-style vertical cold launch system consumes 25 million shock points. Total shock points consumed for this modification, 60 million. Confirm? Confirm. As Yi Bai confirmed with his mind, detailed data and information instantly flooded into his consciousness. For the next few days, Yi Bai devoted himself entirely to the modifications at the high-tech factory. Since this was a military order, all materials and equipment received expedited approval. And 3 days later, a fearsome new war machine emerged before Yi Bai's eyes. As the modification completed, the system's notification chimed in accordingly. Ding. Congratulations, host. On completing the modification of the 10th D-level vehicle. System upgrade. C-level vehicle modification permissions unlocked. Congratulations, host, for receiving a reward. 50 free attribute points. Here it comes. Yi Bai felt a surge of joy and immediately opened his personal attribute panel. Without hesitation, he allocated the precious 50 points according to a 2-1-1-1 ratio. The moment the attribute points were distributed, an unprecedented surge of power coursed through his limbs and body. He felt as though his physique was undergoing a radical transformation. His muscles tightened in an incredible manner, brimming with explosive strength. His bones felt as if they had been reforged, as hard as iron. He could even distinctly hear the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Chapter 371. This missile launch vehicle can fire more than the 055? Is this what it feels like to be superhuman? Yi Bai slowly clenched his fists, feeling the terrifying power capable of splitting mountains and shattering stones, his eyes sparkling with exhilaration. He approached the heavy iron door, forged from special steel and 10 centimeters thick. In the workshop, took a deep breath, and with a mighty punch, struck it. Bang! A resounding thud echoed through the air. The specialized steel door, seemingly as fragile as paper, was indelibly marked by a profound fist imprint from his strike. The entire door frame trembled violently. Such strength! It was astonishing. Yi Bai gazed at his fist, filled with an overwhelming sense of shock. Lowering his gaze, he noticed that his height seemed to have increased a few centimeters due to skeletal growth, his figure becoming more upright and elongated. His once youthful visage now bore distinct contours, and his eyes sparkled with vitality. His aura was entirely transformed. Most notably, he had an inkling that if he could elevate his mental attribute points to a certain threshold, perhaps he would step into an entirely new realm. one that transcended the existing laws of physics. After absorbing the experience of his remarkable metamorphosis, Yi Bai calmed his excited heart and promptly picked up the phone. Dialing Lan Guangji's number. General Lan, the vehicle has been modified. What? Came Lan Guangji's astonished voice from the other end. Modified? It's only been less than a week. Come see for yourself, Yi Bai replied with a mysterious smile, leaving him in suspense. An hour later, when Lan Guangji arrived at the Black Technology Factory's testing ground, accompanied by a cadre of military weapon experts and technicians, they were all utterly awestruck by the sight of the new war machine before them. Cloaked in a matte black finish, the vehicle was adorned with angular, stealthy armor. The previously bulky chassis had been entirely re-engineered, now appearing lower and more compact. Most striking was the rear section, featuring a densely arranged vertical launch matrix resembling a beehive. Is this our Hongjin 10? An elderly expert with glasses adjusted his spectacles, his voice trembling. The imposing design captivated Lan Guangji, whose eyes sparkled with excitement as he circled the newly designed missile vehicle, his hands caressing the cold armor, continuously expressing his admiration with soft exclamations. Major Yi, how did you manage this? Yi Bai chuckled, offering no extensive explanation, merely gesturing invitingly. Actions speak louder than words. Let us take it for a spin and see. Excellent. Let us test it. Lan Guangji exclaimed, invigorated, and waved his hand, leading Yi Bai to a training ground in the Eastern Theater. Prepare for a comprehensive performance test. We'll start with mobility. Soon, an experienced driver entered the cockpit, following Yi Bai's instructions to activate the miniature nuclear fusion reactor. The vehicle emitted a growl reminiscent of a beast awakening. Go. At the command, this steel behemoth, weighing several tons, unleashed a terrifying acceleration that belied its size. Like an arrow released from its bow, it surged forward, racing wildly across the rugged testing ground, traversing hills, splashing through puddles, and cutting through forests. No matter how complex the terrain, the advanced electromagnetic active suspension system ensured the vehicle maintained astonishing stability. The military off-road command vehicles trailing behind could barely catch a glimpse of its rear lights. Too fast, too stable. This mobility surpasses all our current main battle tanks. In the command center, experts and leaders gasped in awe as they watched the real-time footage from the drones. The mobility test was flawlessly executed. Next came the most exhilarating phase, the firepower test. As the new missile vehicle slowly entered the target area, aligning its 120 launch ports skyward, everyone held their breath. Major Yi, Lan Guangji said, glancing at the numerous launch ports and counting silently in his mind, then asked uncertainly, "You didn't actually achieve a 32 missile capacity, did you?" Yi Bai responded with a mysterious smile. "You'll find out shortly." He communicated instructions to the test operator in the cockpit. Prepare for fire coverage test. Target, the designated target area. First round, 30 missiles, fire. What? 30 missiles at once? The command center erupted in chaos. Are you insane? Simultaneously launching 30 missiles. How is that possible? Can the vehicle endure such immense recoil? The system will collapse. No fire control system can handle locking and firing at 30 targets simultaneously. Yet, as they debated, an astonishing spectacle unfolded at the target range. The vehicle's roof revealed its 120 launch ports, and among them, 30 hatches sprang open instantaneously. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. There was no earth-shattering flame or smoke. Only the sharp sound of air being ripped apart. 30 GT-100 missiles were launched skyward at an almost vertical angle, propelled by electromagnetic force. Then came the thunderous explosions. In the next moment, the entire target area was engulfed in a relentless barrage of flames and explosions. The ground trembled violently. When the smoke cleared, the area littered with numerous derelict tanks had utterly vanished from the horizon, leaving behind deep, smoldering craters. A profound silence enveloped the command center. Everyone stared in disbelief at the screen displaying a scene reminiscent of an apocalyptic nightmare, their minds blank. After a long pause, Lan Guangji pointed shakily at the missile vehicle, which remained steadfast after its launch, and hoarsely inquired, Did it really fire 30 missiles simultaneously? Yi Bai calmly nodded. Indeed. And its total capacity is 120 missiles. He announced a figure that left everyone breathless. 120 missiles. Lan Guangji's eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets. Our 10,000-ton destroyer has only 112 vertical launch cells. What you have here is no mere missile launch vehicle. This firepower is extraordinary. Chapter 372. Just disembarked. Struck by a tactical nuclear missile, Lan Guangji gazed at the missile vehicle before him, his eyes brimming with indescribable fervor. He envisioned the spectacle of hundreds or even thousands of such land-based arsenal ships, forming an iron tide to deliver a saturation strike upon the enemy, producing a scene both magnificent and despairing. Well, we need at least 100 of these to feel secure. After all, we can't leave any survivors. Major Yi. Lan Guangji abruptly turned, gripping Yi Bai's shoulders tightly, his excitement making him tremble slightly. You have once again forged a national treasure capable of altering the rules of warfare for our dragon nation. Perfect. Next week, our theater has an internal red-blue confrontation exercise. Let us take your precious creation to practice. I want to see the expressions on those opposing soldiers' faces when they face this saturation strike. Let them get a taste of what future Eagle Sauce treatment will be like. At the very least, they should experience the treatment reserved for the Eagle Sauce elite. Not a single one of them would be shortchanged. A week later, in a certain southeastern location, a large-scale red-blue confrontation exercise codenamed Blade 2025 officially commenced. The commander of the Red Army was none other than Zhao Zhigang, the renowned Tiger Brigade commander, a paragon of ferocity. Zhao Zhigang was aptly named. With a bold personality and strict military discipline, the brigade he led was a famed rapid response unit, celebrated for its remarkable mobility and ferocious assault capabilities. In order to assert dominance over his old adversary, Blue Army Commander Lan Guangji, during this exercise, Zhao Zhigang took a daring gamble. He utilized high-speed rail to deploy his main forces to the designated combat area at an unprecedented pace. As the soldiers of the Tiger Brigade disembarked from the train and set foot on the platform, still unassembled, the red warning lights on their helmets, signifying casualties, suddenly began to flash frantically. Concurrently, the verdict from the exercise command was broadcasted through the public channel, reaching every ear. Red Army, please be advised. Your unit has suffered over 50 casualties due to a tactical nuclear strike from the Blue Army during the assembly process. The command system is incapacitated. You have lost most of your combat capabilities. Upon hearing this declaration, the entire Tiger Brigade was rendered utterly bewildered. Brigade Commander Zhao Zhigang stood frozen in shock. A tactical nuclear weapon. What an absurd international joke. This is merely an exercise, not the apocalypse. Who would resort to such measures at the outset of a conflict? He seized the radio from the communications soldier, yelling hoarsely into the command channel. I protest vehemently. The Blue Army has grossly violated the exercise rules. I demand an immediate ruling of their misconduct and a restart of the exercise. However, the response from the command was like a blow of ice to his spine. Protest denied. Modern warfare is unpredictable. Any scenario may unfold on the battlefield. Red Army Commander, please adjust your combat deployment according to the current circumstances. The radio emitted a busy signal. Clenching the device, Zhao Zhigang trembled in rage, his face turning a deep shade of crimson. It was evident that this was the cunning work of that old fox, Lan Guangji. Lan Guangji, you scoundrel, resorting to such underhanded tactics against me. Zhao Zhigang cursed vehemently, slamming the radio onto the ground, his eyes blazing like a furious tiger. Relay my orders. He bellowed to the remnants of his bewildered troops. Everyone, travel light, split into smaller units. Abandon all predetermined objectives. We have but one mission in this exercise, to capture Lan Guangji alive. I shall personally decapitate that old schemer and use his head as a chamber pot, having lost half his forces to an unreasonable tactical nuclear strike. Zhao Zhigang's fury had reached a boiling point. Dismissing all prior combat plans, he swiftly regrouped the remaining combat-capable troops, preparing for a desperate, do-or-die decapitation mission. In his mind, with the Tiger Brigade's formidable individual combat skills and infiltration tactics, it was not impossible to split into smaller units and penetrate the Blue Army's rear to dismantle Lan Guangji's command center. However, he had underestimated the monstrous capabilities of the war machine that Yi Bai had created. Just as Zhao Zhigang was gathering his remaining forces in a relatively concealed temporary drill ground within a valley to conduct the final pre-battle mobilization, an unexpected turn of events occurred. Suddenly, a series of sharp sounds sliced through the air. Everyone instinctively looked up, only to see countless small black dots appearing against the blue sky. Those dots rapidly magnified in their sight at a terrifying speed. Missiles, shouted a sharp-eyed scout. Take cover. Quick, take cover. Zhao Zhigang screamed, his voice hoarse with urgency. But it was far too late. In the face of such a dense and overwhelming barrage, akin to a locust swarm, no concealment would prove effective. After all, it was stated to be a saturation strike, leaving no room for error. The next moment, that small valley was engulfed in a relentless eruption of flames and explosions. Red Army, please be advised. Your unit has once again suffered combat casualties of 2 battalions due to long-range fire from the Blue Army. Please adjust your combat deployment immediately. The command's voice echoed once more in Zhao Zhigang's ears. When the smoke cleared, Zhao Zhigang crawled out from a collapsed shelter, covered in dirt. Staring at the devastation before him, utterly dumbfounded. 2 battalions were gone. He now had barely enough personnel left to constitute a single battalion. Ah! Zhao Zhigang held at the sky. Lan Guangji, I curse your ancestors. He trembled with rage, his eyes bloodshot, nearly spewing fire. What is this farce? My troops haven't even engaged yet, and were nearly wiped out by that unreasonable firepower. This battle had become unbearably frustrating. Yet Zhao Zhigang, renowned as a fierce commander of the Tiger Brigade, had never entertained the notion of surrender. Damn it! He wiped the dirt from his face, a fierce glint flashing in his eyes. So what if we are outnumbered? Even if I have only a squad left, I will still pierce a hole through Lan Guangji's command. With less than a battalion remaining, Zhao Zhigang dispersed his forces into smaller tactical units, commencing a guerrilla infiltration. A well-equipped heavy mechanized brigade, which should have dominated the front line, was forced to operate as a special forces unit, capable only of guerrilla tactics in the jungle and mountainous terrains. However, it must be said that the individual quality of the Tiger Brigade was indeed exceptional. They were worthy of the reputation that had brought them to contend with Lan Guangji. Over the next 2 days, Zhao Zhigang led his beleaguered troops, relying on their remarkable determination and exquisite tactics, to stealthily breach one Blue Army defense line after another, miraculously reaching the outskirts of the Blue Army command. Yet, when he raised his binoculars and beheld the Blue Army command encircled by layers of defenses, he could not suppress a sigh of resignation. There were simply too few of them. Had he even one complete battalion at his disposal, he would have been confident in tearing through their defenses to capture Lan Guangji. But now, with his scant forces, he could scarcely create a distraction. Moreover, after having narrowly escaped a grenade from a cook, Lan Guangji had become exceedingly cautious. Not to mention, the command center was heavily guarded. How could he possibly proceed? Ultimately, with his resources nearly depleted, Zhao Zhigang activated his signal device indicating casualties, bringing an end to what could only be described as the most frustrating and helpless battle of his military career. Meanwhile, in the Blue Army Command Center, Lan Guangji watched with a sense of satisfaction as the lights representing Red Army soldiers extinguished one by one on the screen, a broad smile spreading across his face. The saturation attack had been the work of the missile vehicles, 30 rounds at a time, from 10 vehicles, producing an effect comparable to that of a small fleet. Incredible! As the exercise concluded, the Blue Army emerged victorious. Lan Guangji stepped out of the command center, his smile radiant as a blooming chrysanthemum. Approaching Yi Bai, he clapped his shoulder heartily. Major Yi, splendid. You performed brilliantly. This missile vehicle is truly an army terminator. Coupled with our missiles, it is cheap, efficient, and plentiful, utterly unreasonable. Yi Bai merely smiled faintly and extended his hand. General Lan, since the test results have proven so favorable, shall we settle the outstanding balance? Lan Guangji erupted into hearty laughter. Rest assured, just moments ago, the financial department of the military district has transferred the remaining research and development funds in one lump sum to your company's account. He gazed at Yi Bai, his tone becoming exceedingly serious. Major Yi, you have never disappointed us in your modifications. Therefore, our military will absolutely ensure that you have no worries regarding funding. As the two were engaged in a pleasant conversation, a figure filled with rage and resentment strode over from a distance. The newcomer was none other than Zhao Zhigang, the commander of the Tiger Brigade, who had just been thoroughly humiliated during the exercises. Without a moment's hesitation, he approached and angrily pointed his finger at Lan Guangji's nose, unleashing a tirade of curses. Lan Guangji, you despicable old man, I challenge you to a real fight. What kind of hero resorts to such underhanded tactics behind one's back? Lan Guangji, instead of being angered by the verbal assault, wore a smug expression and chuckled. Commander Zhao, all is fair in war. Exercises are not performances. Winning is the only truth. Zhao Zhigang was nearly choked with fury at Lan Guangji's audacious demeanor. Turning his attention to the calm young man standing beside Lan Guangji, his anger flared even more. And you, I recognize you. Aren't you from our southern theater? Look at you now, acting all high and mighty. You've come to the eastern theater to aid outsiders, treating your own people like dirt. Do you have no conscience? Yi Bai was taken aback. Is that so? He only knew Zhao Zhigang as the commander of the Tiger Brigade, but he was unaware that he was from the Southern Theater. This situation was akin to a flood overwhelming the Dragon King's temple, families no longer recognizing one another. If General Long Hantian were to find out, wouldn't he be furious? The thought of General Long's resentful gaze sent a chill down Yi Bai's spine. Noticing Yi Bai's astonished expression, Zhao Zhigang became even more incensed. I don't care. This matter will not end today. You must give me an explanation. You must modify a vehicle for us. And it must be more formidable, more powerful, and more unreasonable than Lan Guangji's. Otherwise, I will sit in front of your company every day. Faced with such a ridiculous threat, Yi Bai couldn't help but find it amusing. So, the Southern Theater produces nothing but rogues? He glanced at Lan Guangji and inquired, General Lan, isn't the Tiger Brigade a rapid reaction force? How did they end up in the Southern Theater? Lan Guangji burst into hearty laughter, pointing at Zhao Zhigang, and teased, Major Yi, don't listen to his nonsense. He did indeed serve in the Southern Theater, but now he is the ace of the Northern Theater. What? The Northern Theater? Yi Bai was left speechless. So it turns out this fellow was merely playing family ties here? Zhao Zhigang's true identity revealed, his face flushed like liver. Yet he maintained his defiant posture and exclaimed, What of the Northern Theater? Are we not soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom? Why is it that your Central, Eastern, and Southern theaters all benefit from your advanced technology, while we in the Northern Theater are still using outdated equipment? Are we not deserving of the same? His emotional plea was laced with grievance. Although he was no longer in the Southern Theater, his habits from that time remained intact, resembling Long Hantian to a T. Yi Bai observed Zhao Zhigang's pitiful expression, a mix of exasperation and amusement washing over him. He shook his head, ultimately conceding, all right, Commander Zhao. I yield to you. I will make the modifications. Is that satisfactory? Of course, it wasn't as if he were truly unwilling. After all, as he stated, they were all soldiers of the Dragon Kingdom. None were inferior, all were heroes safeguarding their homeland. It was merely that Zhao Zhigang's antics were rather absurd. Chapter 374. What does a social media car boss know about aircraft? After acquiescing to Zhao Zhigang's request, Yi Bai graciously declined General Lan's invitation to the celebratory banquet and hurried back to the Black Technology Factory in the capital. While military orders could provide an official endorsement, what truly occupied his thoughts was the Xiaoying 500. Entering the aviation sector was of paramount importance, not only to garner sufficient shock value, but also to resolve his company's economic crisis swiftly. In the hangar, the white-painted Xiaoying 500 sat quietly in the center. Yi Bai stood before it, his mind once again plunging into the second phase super laboratory. System. Initiate C-Class Vehicle Modification. Ding. C-Class Vehicle Modification permissions activated. Target Vehicle, Xiaoying 500 Light Multipurpose Aircraft. Commencing modular modification. Since it was an aircraft, the most pivotal components were the control and power systems. First, the control system. Without hesitation, Yi Bai selected the most revolutionary neural connection system. In this mode, the pilot's brainwaves would connect directly to the aircraft's flight control system through a specially designed helmet. Every thought from the pilot would translate into the aircraft's maneuvers, entirely eliminating cumbersome joysticks and pedals, thus achieving true, thought-driven piloting. Simultaneously, to ensure absolute safety, Yi Bai equipped it with a powerful AI co-pilot. This AI possessed comprehensive knowledge of all global airports and aviation, capable of taking over the aircraft instantly if the pilot was unfit or faced extreme weather, ensuring flight safety. Next, regarding the aircraft's materials and power layout, Yi Bai completely replaced the existing aluminum alloy body with a lighter, sturdier, all-carbon fiber monocoque shell. This material, widely used in top-tier supercars and aerospace applications, not only significantly reduced the aircraft's weight, but also endowed it with unparalleled structural strength. In terms of power, Yi Bai abandoned the traditional engine in favor of 4 superconducting duct motors, glowing with a mysterious blue light. These motors were cleverly concealed within the wings and fuselage in a distributed manner, optimizing aerodynamic layout, while providing terrifying thrust far beyond that of conventional engines. Additionally, the entire upper surface of the aircraft was covered with the latest flexible solar film, enabling it to self-charge during daytime flights. Combined with the internal battery system, its theoretical endurance reached an astonishing 36 hours. Lastly, the modular task pod. To maximize the aircraft's versatility, Yi Bai reserved 6 standardized interfaces for modular task pods beneath the fuselage and wings. These pods could be swapped out based on mission requirements, enabling the installation of high-precision reconnaissance equipment, transforming it into a top-tier reconnaissance aircraft. It could also carry small firefighting projectiles, making it a nimble firefighting aircraft, or even host a launch nest filled with micro-drones, turning it into an aerial drone combat platform. Ding! Modular modification plan generated. Adding neural connection control system, cockpit mode, and AI copilot consumes 30 million shock value. Upgrading to all carbon fiber monocoque shell consumes 20 million shock value. Adding 4 superconducting duct motors and micro-nuclear fusion battery consumes 50 million shock value. Adding 6 modular task pod interfaces consumes 20 million shock value. Total shock value consumed for this modification, 2 billion points. Confirm? Confirm. As Yi-Bai affirmed his thoughts, a myriad of modification proposals instantaneously flooded his mind. Fortunately, after undergoing enhancements, Yi-Bai was unfazed by the influx of data. He promptly commenced the modifications. The entire high-tech factory stirred to life in an instant. The industrial mother machine, a paragon of Earth's industrial achievements, gradually emerged from the depths below. Countless mechanical arms, agile as octopus tentacles, extended from around the mother machine. First, a high-energy particle beam cutting gun, wielding submicrometer precision, meticulously disassembled the original fuselage. Following this, a 3D scanner boasting billions of pixels relayed real-time data of each component back to the central processor. A manufacturing arm, comprised of countless small mechanical units, slowly printed a newly formed carbon fiber fuselage from a vast material repository. Hours later, as the final panel was flawlessly installed, an aircraft that epitomized the future of aviation stood before Yi-Bai. With a maximum flight speed reaching 14 Mach, it effortlessly shattered the sound barrier. Its endurance lasted up to 36 hours, sufficient to circumnavigate half the globe. This was a true omnipotent aerial sovereign. Ding. Modification upgrade successful. Vehicle rating meets C-Class vehicle standards. Just as Yi-Bai completed the transformative overhaul of the Little Eagle 500, Sun Ling knocked and entered. Brother, there's something that requires your approval. A hint of inquiry graced her face. We just received a call from the Lonka Institute. They mentioned that the team behind our country's independently developed large passenger aircraft project, codenamed Longting, wishes to send an expert group here for observation and learning. Should we accommodate them? The mention of the Longting passenger aircraft project elicited a slight arch of Yi-Bai's brow. He was already well aware of this initiative. It represented our nation's concerted effort to break the monopoly of Boeing and Airbus in the large aircraft sector, a national treasure of monumental significance, akin to the historical 2 bombs and 1 satellite. With no reason to decline the request from the Lonka Institute, Yi-Bai nodded in agreement without hesitation. Let them come. It will be a splendid opportunity for them to witness what true future aviation entails. The following morning, a minibus adorned with special license plates slowly entered the high-tech factory. A dozen distinguished experts and scholars disembarked. At the forefront was an elder with graying hair, yet a spirited demeanor, Li Baohua, the chief designer of the Longting aircraft project and a cherished disciple of the late Qian Lao. Trailing behind him were 2 youthful faces. The most talented interns personally selected by Li from a premier domestic aerospace university this year, Zhang Hao and Lu Yu. Since boarding, they had been whispering amongst themselves. Lu Yu, what do you think of this Yi-Bai? Why would even academician Li personally lead a team to observe at his modest private factory? Zhang Hao's tone dripped with unabashed pride. I've heard he's that viral entrepreneur behind the lightning electric car. The vehicle is indeed impressive. But cars and planes belong to entirely different realms. Lu Yu beside him mirrored his skepticism. Exactly. What does he know about aircraft? It's merely an outsider trying to guide the experts. Chapter 375. Eagle Strike I aircraft. How many components does a modern large passenger aircraft possess? 5 million. These 5 million parts originate from thousands of global suppliers, requiring countless instances of exquisite assembly and calibration. Moreover, the aerodynamic design of the aircraft necessitates billions of fluid dynamic simulations on supercomputers. Each curve and angle is critical to flight safety, not to mention the aviation engines, the crowning jewels of modern industry, whose complexities in materials science, thermodynamics, and fluid mechanics are beyond the imagination of an outsider. No matter how wealthy or talented Yi-Bai may be, mastering such a multitude of top-tier technologies in such a short span is implausible. I suspect his so-called aviation breakthrough is merely the creation of a slightly advanced drone, hardly noteworthy. As the two continued their fervent discourse, Li Bao was suddenly halted, turning sharply to glare at them. What are you two whispering about? Startled, Zhang Hao and Lu Yu fell silent, lowering their heads. Have I not instructed you that you must never make hasty judgments about someone you do not know? Have I not emphasized that as researchers, you must always maintain a heart of humility and reverence? Li's expression darkened as he regarded his 2 prized students. You focus solely on Yi-Bai's youth and his internet celebrity status. But do you realize that the technologies he commands have garnered respect, even from the military? The value he creates has drawn the attention of the nation. We are here to learn, not to flaunt our superiority. If you persist in this arrogant and ignorant attitude towards a true master, you may leave at once. The chastisement left Zhang Hao and Lu Yu feeling a rush of heat to their faces, engulfed by shame. They quickly bowed their heads, simultaneously apologizing. Teacher, we were wrong. After reprimanding his oblivious interns, Li Baoguo straightened his attire before leading the team into the high-tech factory's hangar. Meanwhile, Yi Bai, whose hearing had been remarkably enhanced, caught every word of the earlier exchange, including Zhang Hao and Lu Yu's disdainful conversation. However, he remained undeterred, for scientific research speaks through facts. Academicianly, esteemed experts, welcome to my high-tech factory. Yi Bai greeted them with a warm smile, shaking hands with Li Baoguo. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, Yi Bai guided them directly to the newly transformed Little Eagle 500. As the experts from the Longting project gazed upon the aircraft, their eyes sparkled with awe. Major Yi, is this the Little Eagle 500 after your modifications? Academicianly marveled, caressing the cold fuselage. Yi Bai smiled and began to elaborate on the aircraft's specifications. We have named this aircraft Eagle Strike I. The fuselage is crafted from an all-carbon fiber one-piece skin, with structural strength surpassing traditional aluminum alloy bodies by over 3 times. In terms of propulsion, we have abandoned conventional piston engines in favor of 4 superconducting duct motors arranged in a distributed layout. This not only achieves zero noise and zero emissions, but also endows it with formidable thrust. Its maximum flight speed can reach 14 Mach, effortlessly attaining supersonic cruise. Thanks to the onboard miniature nuclear fusion battery and flexible solar film, its theoretical endurance can extend to 36 hours. With each parameter Yi Bai announced, Li Baoguo and the accompanying expert team could scarcely contain their astonishment. As the nation's leading aviation experts, they understood the terrifying technological prowess represented by these specifications. Conversely, upon hearing these seemingly fantastical figures, Zhang Hao and Lu Yu struggled to suppress their laughter. Hiding at the back of the crowd, they exchanged hushed remarks only audible to each other. This is hilarious. 14 Mach. Supersonic cruise? Did he believe he was piloting a fighter jet? Indeed. How could a mere trainer aircraft possibly exceed the speed of sound? Such a notion utterly contravenes the fundamental principles of aerodynamics. He is merely engaging in boastful exaggeration. Their self-righteous whispers, though barely audible, were distinctly heard by Yi Bai. He shook his head, acknowledging their ignorance and audacity. Paying no heed to the two jesters, he glanced at the time and smiled, addressing the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, no amount of discussion on parameters can compare to witnessing it firsthand. Today marks the maiden flight test of the Eagle Strike I. Its pilot has also arrived. As his words concluded, a hearty laughter resonated from outside the hangar. Yuan Tong, clad in a striking flight suit, strode in with confidence, flanked by the opulent Prince Salman. Yi Shun. Upon seeing Yi Bai, Yuan Tong rushed forward, embracing him warmly. I cannot thank you enough. He then presented a substantial check, issued by a Swiss bank, which he had prepared in advance. Yi Shun, this is the final payment from His Highness Prince Salman. The prince expressed that your creation is priceless. This sum is merely a token of his appreciation. Upon seeing the lengthy string of zeros on the check, Zhang Hao and Lu Yu's eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets. My heavens! How many billions could this possibly amount to? The wealth of the affluent is astonishingly easy to acquire. Yi Bai accepted the check without a glance, casually handing it to Sun Ling behind him. He then patted Yuan Tong on the shoulder, smiling. Are you ready? Many are eagerly awaiting your performance. With that, he gestured for Sun Ling to commence a live stream. The moment the live stream began, countless viewers, who had been waiting in anticipation, flooded in. Comments rapidly filled the screen. Here it comes. Finally, Yi Shun's new work. Eagle Strike I test? Just the title sounds so cool. Zhang Hao and Lu Yu were utterly astonished by Yi Bai's audacity. He dares to live stream. He truly has no fear. The maiden flight test is the most perilous stage. How can he broadcast it before the entire nation? Is he not concerned that, should something go awry, he will become the subject of ridicule? Chapter 376. Breaking the Sound Barrier. Under the watchful eyes of countless viewers and experts from the Longting project team, Yuan Tong, filled with exhilaration, ascended into the cockpit of the Eagle Strike I. As he donned the specially designed flight helmet, perfectly attuned to the neural connection system, an unprecedented sensation surged within him. He felt as though he had become one with the aircraft. Every component of the plane seemed like an extension of his own body. He could even vividly perceive the flow of every air current surrounding the fuselage. Eagle Strike I, requesting takeoff. Yuan Tong silently murmured. In the next instant, the 4 superconducting duct motors roared to life. There were no engine roars, no propeller thunders, only a barely audible hum, akin to the flow of electricity. After a brief but smooth taxi on the runway, the Eagle Strike I gracefully lifted its nose, soaring towards the azure sky at a perfect angle. It took flight. The live stream erupted with excitement. Wow, it has taken off. Such a smooth ascent. And without a sound. Incredible. Yi Shun is no longer content with just running on the ground. He's now taking to the skies. The design of this aircraft is stunning. It exudes a sense of sci-fi allure. It looks even better than those fighter jets. At high altitude, Yuan Tong reveled in the unparalleled freedom and exhilaration brought by thought-controlled piloting, unable to suppress an exuberant shout. With a mere thought,